Today is Tuesday, September 19th, 2017. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Council Reyes.
Present.
Council DePena.
Present.
Council Rodriguez. Present. Councilor Abdu.
Present.
Councilor Ortiz. Councilor Maldonado.
Present.
Council Alvarez Rodriguez.
Present.
Council Vice President LaPlante.
Present.
And Council President Vasquez.
Present. Please rise for a moment of silence. Thank you. Now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't know if you want to make a general announcement on the marijuana.
Thank you. Please note that we were supposed to schedule a public hearing tonight for the prohibition of marijuana. That is actually going to be on October 3rd, not tonight. So if anyone is here for that particular subject, just be aware of that. Now moving on, we have minutes for the City Council to approve from July 18th and August 10th. Is there a motion to approve both sets of minutes?
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. Is there any discussion? Seeing there's none, all those in favor, please say aye. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Council Reyes.
Yes.
Council DePena.
Yes.
Council Rodriguez.
Yes.
Councilor Abdu.
Yes.
Council Ortiz. Council Maldonado.
Yes.
Council Alvarez Rodriguez.
Stay.
Noted. Council Vice President LaPlante.
Yes.
And Council President Vasquez.
Yes, motion carries. Now moving on, public participation. Please note that you will have 2.5 minutes to speak. When you hear the first bell, that means that you've spoken for 2 minutes. By the time you hear the second bell, your time is up. When speaking, please address the City Council as a whole, not any individual councilor. Please list your name and address for the record. First person is Mr. H. Mali.
Good evening, honorable members. In this important election year, we the citizens demand of you and Mayor Rivera support our police department and their union. Our police department, under impeccable leadership of Chief Fitzpatrick, has done an excellent job to protect our citizens. Support our police department and senior officer union. Mayor Rivera needs to sign our police officers' contract. Our public school, under impeccable leadership of Honorable Superintendent Raleigh, has become the best public school in the nation. Mayor Rivera, last 4 years, has not done enough work to create safe city. Lawrence Police Department, with budget of $12 million, are not able to protect our citizens. Mayor Rivera needs to ask for more protection for our citizens. Mayor Rivera destroyed our police officers and police department last 4 years. Mayor Rivera appoints people like a Pat Rose for inspection department that continuing harassing our homeowner by taking them to the court. Mayor Rivera need to fire Pat Rose. Citizens complained to Mayor Rivera that police officers, in a case of Palino, they lied in their police report, but Mayor Rivera has not done nothing to answer the Palino family. We, the citizen and Palino family, they deserve an answer before Mayor Rivera leave this office. In the last hours, Mayor Rivera needs to sign our police department contract. We need the new leadership and new direction for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Diácono Jesús Castillo.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Mi presencia aquí representando a la comunidad cristiana católica
My presence here is to represent the Catholic community, Christian community
de la Santa María de la Asunción en Lawrence.
St. Mary, Assumption of St. Mary's of Lawrence.
Había aunado esfuerzo en convocar a toda la feligresía
I had made efforts to call upon the members or parishioners
para esta noche hacer acto de presencia.
so that they could be present here tonight.
Y desafortunadamente
And unfortunately,
no ha sucedido lo que en verdad teníamos programado para este momento.
what we had planned for this moment, it is not happening tonight.
Yo necesito una explicación en este sentido,
I need an explanation in this sense
porque soy la persona que debo tener credibilidad con mi feligresía.
because I am a person that should have credibility with my parishioners.
Incluso hay feligreses aquí que no estaban enterados de este cambio.
In fact, there are parishioners here in attendance that were not planning to come, that were planning to come to hear the audience.
Yo pierdo credibilidad
I
ante,
lose credibility in front of
ante una feligresía
in
que
front of parishioners
ha confiado en mí.
that have trusted me.
Espero que esto sea en lo adelante tomado en consideración
I hope that this would be taken into consideration moving forward,
para yo poder tener la credibilidad que la comunidad siempre ha tenido en mí.
so that I may have the credibility and maintain the credibility that the community parishioners have had placed in me.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Gloria Candelario.
I'm sorry. We thought that we had to sign in on that, so we'll wait till his turn to be called for 12 Park Street.
That's a public hearing.
Yeah.
So-
So am I able to?
Yeah.
No, I'll wait for that one.
Sure, not a
Okay,
problem.
thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Ralph Lavin. It's Caven.
Hi, City Council. My name's Ralph Lappin. I am a Lawrence citizen. I have invented a new way of possibly eliminating viruses in the rubbish barrel. The community needs a better, clean system in this city of ours, Lawrence, Massachusetts. And I'm very willing to adopt a plan from the City Council with the work of City Council. It's new, it's an invented system. I'm more than happy to work with the City Council. Remember, it's brand new. If I could possibly save a life that possibly may attract a virus from the rubbish barrel handling, as well as the rubbish routes that the park benches and the rubbish barrels themselves. As you know, we have a homeless problem in the city of Lawrence, and the handling of rubbish barrels, knowing the fact that possibly the homeless, they walk around a lot, they do things that the police department know as well. I've seen many do bad things around this city, unfortunately, I should say. I just want to work with the City Council and City Hall. Remember, it's invented. It's something that we all have to work together to create a contract that's affordable for the city so we can get federal funding, a federal grant with the President of the United States. Their people who work in Washington, D.C. to obtain these funds that could possibly help this city, being the first city in the United States that can get this system off the ground and in working order, and I can get a workforce that can proceed with jobs in Lawrence, Massachusetts, for the citizens of Lawrence, Massachusetts to get full-time work, noting the fact that it's based on a monthly, not a weekly cleaning system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next person is Jeffrey Petrillo.
Good evening, City Councilors. My name is Jeffrey Petrillo, and I reside at 341D South Broadway in Lawrence. Recently, we have new owners at the former Metropolitan Auto Body Shop at 341 South Broadway. The problem is that the very city laws that we used to make the decision to purchase our home in 1989 are still in effect today. The seemingly problem is no city officials will enforce them like Mrs. Louise Ferris or Mr. Robert Quimby. The new owners of A&M Auto Body are parking cars on a vacant lot, and as recently as of August 27th, informed us that it was their intention to put a fence. We asked why, when for 40 years, Paul Martineau Sr. was prohibited from building a fence of any kind, whether it be 3 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet, or 8 feet. He was stopped. I'll tell you why. In 2014, when I learned that the former owner of Metropolitan Auto Body was found to have made a curb cut without any permits pulled in 2005. And I'm sure such people as Nilka Alvarez and many of the other city councilors are reminded that I was here in 2014 and 2015, and yes, I did speak a lot about that. Then I said to city officials, we want it recurbed the same way it was since the 1940s. The city said, no, we won't recurb it. We asked why through 2015. In 2014 to 2015, I said if the Martineaus sell their auto body shop, the new owners will figure that the curb cut is for parking cars on their vacant, unpermitted residentially zoned lot. I called it opening up Pandora's box. The people in this room laughed at me. Well, what I'm talking about here is devaluation of residential property by a commercial business. And I can give you an example of that with 5 Inman Street that was put up for sale for $225,000 in 2012. It sold for $80,000 in August of 2012. In January, 5 Inman Street was priced to sell at $299,000. Nobody wanted to buy it because it was fenced in a junkyard next to the Martineaus
Thank you, Mr. Petrillo.
car corral.
Your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you. Next person is Mr. Dick Russell.
Good evening, Council. His name's Dick Russell, 34 Cross Street in the city. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite the people behind me, the people who are watching on TV, and you people to participate in the September 30th Day of Remembrance across the street at the flagpole for the commemoration of those that have died violent deaths in the cities of Lawrence, Methuen, and the 2 Andovers. It will commence at 12 o'clock. We'd like to see all of you there. I know it's winding down after the election. We would like to see you there, but please, if you do attend, it is not a political statement. It is a statement to commemorate those that have died violently. There have been 10 more names added to the list from last year. We're now sitting at 155 violent deaths in about 35 years. This is the 4th anniversary, the 4th annual one. We'd like you to be there. Hopefully the weather will be good and you'll participate. Thank you. Oh, good luck in the election next Tuesday, all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Next is Unique Hopes and Dreams. I believe you have a document that we will be calling in a few minutes, so I don't know if you would like to wait.
No.
Yeah, you don't,
okay.
yeah.
Thanks.
Next, Milagros Grullón, Pastor.
Good evening. Just as Deacon Jesus came forward to you and stated that we were a little bit disheartened because the petition was not, the marijuana bill was not put in front of us. And it was just the amount of investment in time and resources that became an issue to us. So in lieu, I had just a couple of questions which I have not had the answer actually to. How, why did this happen? And because we were in a timely basis when we spoke, when we came forward and gave the information needed to move this forward, gave our support, we were assured that this will move smoothly. We have had to invest more resources to cancel individuals' attendance for tonight. So we are concerned with the response at the last minute, actually 48 working hours that we were notified to let folks know not to be here. And that has really cost us more resources. And we understand that there are things that happened. But again, we're asking that the City Council please keep in mind that we are a huge amount of people. We are a great deal of people out there working for one cause, and this has cost us issues with credibility, issue with disrespect towards our communities, especially that of faith, and that is something that we would like for it to be taken into consideration to give us ample amount of time so that the resources that we are investing, we could invest elsewhere. We appreciate your time and thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Grace Marie Tomasali.
I'll go first. I'm Joyce Tomaselli. I'm going to speak after her. Grace Marie Tomaselli, Haverhill Street, Lawrence. I currently am the editor for the Tom Duggins newspaper, the Valley Patriot. This is a follow-up to the meeting that we had in August 15th of 2017. We're asking the City Council to please help me and my sister Joyce to keep our family home. I want to put you on notice of the suspicious activity that has been going on with the city that targeted our senior citizens to take away our family home. We discovered that the City of Lawrence attorneys misrepresented material facts to the Northeast Housing Court. We were shocked that this could happen when lawyers take an oath not to lie to the court. However, we unfortunately had already had experience with lawyers who lie to the court with the town of Salisbury. The town of Salisbury, that's how we met Tom Duggan. He wrote the story, An $80 Million Lie, Sisters Discover Sewer Project, 100% grant funded. I was shocked to even see that attorneys would do a thing like this. Because of this, my sister had to file for bankruptcy, and when she did this, the Lawrence house became part of the estate. It was at this time that there was water damage while the trustee was responsible for the house. The house was broken into, and it had been ransacked, and every single room in our house, everything was thrown all over the floor. When we found out about this, when the City of Lawrence wanted work done in 2017, we had not been in the house for 3 years. When we came in 2017, we started working on it because Joyce's case was going to be coming out of the bankruptcy. It was absolutely, we tried so hard to do everything that the city wanted from us. And we were forced to empty out our house. Brian Corrigan, who's here tonight, actually came to my house and said, in 2 days, if you don't remove the things from your house, we're going to throw them in a dumpster. Can you imagine having a house that's been in your family for 75 years? Have somebody tell you this in your house? It's unacceptable. I have one other thing I would like to add, and that is my family home became the hostage house, and I had to pay over $20,000 to get it back, only to have the city this week. I just found out that the city has already initiated taking us to housing court this Friday, for a receivership after we had worked so hard to get the house back. We don't even have the final documents from the court. I do want to add one line that's very important. We're considering retaining a lawyer. I'd rather not do that, and I ask the city council
Your
to
time is
please
up.
investigate and correct this situation.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Joyce Tomasali.
Hello. I am a senior citizen, and my family home on Havel Street has always been my legal residence since I was born in 1948, and my family's home since 1942. This weekend, I received a notice that the city has initiated taking me and my sister to the Lawrence Housing Court to reactivate a receivership case, although we complied with the city's request. It is important for you to know, for background, that in 2013, Inspectional Services Ray Hillman did an inspection of my home and found my home and all the repairs satisfactory. My home has had the same items in it since 2013, and everything was only household items. In February 2014, I was forced to file for bankruptcy protection because it was my only viable way left to dispute the town of Salisbury sewer betterment that I was charged for, even though my sister and I were not liable for. There is no, to come to current, there is no reason for the city of Lawrence to do and have done any irreparable harm to us and to our home. It is nothing less than an abuse of power for their own purpose. It is apparent that I am being targeted by Mayor Rivera. He used his power to have Attorney Body and Attorney Corrigan create a strategy to force me out of my family home. They have gone after me like predators to take my only home from me. I have been told by many that they probably see me as easy prey because I am a senior citizen and not Hispanic. Mayor Rivera and his use of our city attorneys and other city employees reminds me of the Nazi army invasion, going into homes and forcing people out of their homes so that they can take over their property. The city attorney, Brian Corrigan, came into my home knowing we were correcting and repairing it. He came in with many men to take my possessions out to make it appear that it was vacant and abandoned, even though it was not. There is no reason or excuse for what the city of Lawrence has done to me and my family. It is a classic case of abuse of power and constitutional violations, harassment and bullying. These people have harmed me greatly. As we explained to you on August 15th, the city started a fire watch on February
27th.
as we explained on August 15th, the city started on February 27th a fire watch at my home, but the city did not have an order to do so. I have asked your help and requested that these officials, Attorney Body, Attorney Corrigan, Pat Ruiz, be investigated. They abuse their power and should be removed from office.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Next person is Robin Desmet.
Good evening. I'm Robin Desmet, and I'm a pharmacist and also the manager at Packard Pharmacy, which is a family-owned business.
We have your document is listed on the public hearings. Will you like to wait then?
I'm sorry?
Your document is listed on the public hearings. Will you prefer to wait for when your time is up, when your time
Sure.
comes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So another time?
Yeah. Yes, tonight.
Okay.
So we're going, so your document is listed under public hearings, which
Oh,
means
okay.
that you have an actual document
Okay.
to address your issue.
Okay.
Yes.
So should I speak now or later?
No, later.
Later.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Next person is Joe D'Amico.
Joe D'Amico, 11 Lorenzo Road, South Lawrence. Just want to bring up a couple of things that ended up at the debate last night, in case people didn't watch it on TV or didn't attend. One of the issues was, one of the questions was, we have a $12 million surplus. We should be able to use that to do homeless apartments. Homeless apartments doesn't mean anything in the city of Lawrence. Saunders School was a vision for homeless people. I looked up the paper today in 2014, written by Keith. The first 3 tenants that were in that building were from Lowell, not from Lawrence. So even if we spent and put 1,000 more apartments in, doesn't mean they're Laurentians. The second thing is we had a thing about rent control. I just went to the meeting, couldn't find it. The affordable housing is not the answer. Affordable housing means it's a guaranteed paycheck to a developer, not to regular landlords. Modesto. So those people there will try to keep their rents low, but because of affordable housing, and anybody can go in there. The line is three years waiting. Doesn't mean it's going to be a Laurentian moving in there. That has to stop. So I just want to bring that up as another issue in the city. The other questions was, with that $12 million, what can we do? The financier is the person that could dictate where that $12 million goes. The other question was the schools. People don't understand, and Pat Mariano brought it up at one of the neighborhood meetings the other day. The cities of Lawrence has been improved so much that they made national headlines saying we've improved by 55%. Doesn't mean that we're moved from number 2 to the top of the list, but there's been a big improvement. Nobody ever mentions the kids getting high school scholarships to major colleges in the city of Lawrence. City of Lawrence does provide good schooling. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. D'Amico. I am now submitting these names to the record. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Moving on with the agenda, we now have the public hearings. Document 16117 is 2 parkings, 20-minute spaces at 201, 207 Lawrence Street. It was placed on the agenda by Councilor Reyes. Mr. Clerk, please read the notice.
Document 161, 2017. Notice is hereby given the City Council will hold a hearing on Tuesday, September 19th in council chambers at 7 p.m. Purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning proposed amendment to the revised ordinances for the City of Lawrence to be amended by adding a new paragraph to the municipal code concerning 20-minute parking to be inserted on the proper alphabetical order at Lawrence Street, north side, from a point 40 feet easterly of the intersection with Bunker Hill Street to a point 80 feet easterly of the intersection of Bunker Hill Street. To the extent there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity as appearing on September 11, 2017.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard? Seeing there's none, public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what's your motion?
Motion to approve and waive the 30 days.
Motion has been made and properly second. Seeing there's no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Just point of order. Council President, I just want to make sure that you respond to I know we don't normally respond to people during public participation.
Yes.
But the part where people were coming in expecting a specific, if you could just repeat
That has been addressed with the folks that spoke today.
Oh, so you talked to them directly?
I did. I had
Okay, because
yes.
when I heard them at the podium.
Next
Yeah.
document, document
Thank you.
19517, permit requirement for individuals who solicit money on public ways, by Council Vice President Mark LaPlante. Mr. Clerk, please read the notice.
Document 195, 2017, notice is hereby given. The City Council will hold a public hearing Tuesday, September 19, 2017, in council chambers at 7 p.m. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning proposed amendment to the revised ordinances by adding the following new chapter 5.18 to the City of Lawrence Municipal Code concerning soliciting contributions on public ways to be inserted in proper order. Section 5.18.010 delineated each of the requirements of the proposed ordinances requiring a permit to be issued by the City Council as published on September 11, 2017.
Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone from the audience that wishes to be heard? Name and address for the record, please.
Joe D'Amico, 11 Lorenzo Road. I'd just like to put in an addendum to Mark's thing. A couple of towns, Manchester, New Hampshire, have just put a new thing in their ordinance, was that if you're going to be panhandling on the streets, not the panhandlers are going to be in trouble, but the person driving the car is in trouble. He gets a $10 fine. I think one of the things is, at certain locations in the city, River Street, Water Street, when they stop in the cars, causes a backlog, accidents could occur. I'm really not for the part about them getting a permit unless somewhere along the line it's changed from a homeless person versus a contract, the fire department, or whatever, a sociable collection, baseball, whatever. The biggest issue would be the panhandlers. There's 3 people that panhandle all day long, and I guarantee you, they make about $150 a person a day. So I don't know why they're homeless. Just want to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening again, Council. His name's Dick Russell, 34 Cross Street. About I call them the commercial panhandlers, those out there doing the boot drive, the collecting for all the charities. Are they going to be required to have a police detail while they play in traffic? I speak from experience. If I, as a surveyor, go to work if I put a tripod leg in a city street, I have to have a police detail. Are these people, while they're soliciting money in traffic, going to be required to have a police detail? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience that wishes to be heard? Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Kathy Runge, 32 Dragut Street. I realize that there's a expectation that if you pass this, you're going to get sued, and that's one of the worries, because I am for this, but I wanted to, I had a suggestion in case you decide you're going to get sued and you want to drop this. Why not shame them? We can invest in a couple signs, put them where the panhandlers frequent, and, you know, say, do not feed the panhandlers, or whatever, you know, don't give them money. And then, if they do something to the sign, you've got them for destroying public property. That's it. Just a suggestion.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience that wishes to be heard? Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Teresa Jeffrey. I live on Olive Avenue. I'm actually in favor of an ordinance. I don't know if this is it, but I'll tell you why. I know that I did a little research on the internet this afternoon, and I saw that a lot of cities and towns throughout the country have attempted to do an ordinance of this kind, but it has been struck down because of the rights of free speech and assembly of homeless people. So to craft an ordinance, it would have to be very specific in the language. But it looks like what you guys are planning to do might fit the bill, and I'll tell you why I like what you're looking at. I like the idea of doing a census of who is out there in our streets. The idea of inviting these men and women to come to City Hall or to the police station to identify themselves, show identification of one sort or another, to receive whatever kind of license or whatever you're proposing, is appealing to me because it allows us as a community to know who is on our streets. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that it affords the city the opportunity to maybe provide additional services to these people. It's a step towards helping them if they're homeless. you can if the first step in helping them to get community services, if they're available, is at least to identify them. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's a good start. You know, I drive through the same intersections on my way to work and back every day. I come down Water Street, and then I see the same people on that intersection every single day doing the same thing, and it's the same people every day. And then when I come home, it's just the second shift is there doing the same thing every day. And I feel somewhat intimidated because I am, you know, getting older, and when I'm stopped at that light, if I have my window down and there's like a dude walking close to my window and I have my purse on the seat, it's a little uncomfortable for me. I get a little paranoid about that. So I feel there's a public safety issue for me. Am I worried about it? I grew up in Lawrence. I mean, as I get older, my reflexes are a little bit slower, but nonetheless, it is somewhat of a public safety concern for me, so I would appreciate it if you could figure out a way to, you know, do something about this problem. But I'm not hard-hearted. You know, I don't necessarily want homeless people thrown in the clink or, you know, not helped in some way. But at the same time, you can't have them, you know, roaming the streets and scaring the daylights out of seniors like me, or borderline seniors. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to be heard? Seeing there's none, public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what's your motion? Councilor LaPlante?
Motion to approve.
Motion has been made and properly second. Discussion. Councilor Rodriguez.
Sure. Council President, through you, I would like to address the city council and
Mike?
talk about this ordinance.
Mike?
I would like to speak with my colleagues here and talk to about this ordinance. When we have this discussion at the ordinance committee, we never talk about the section E of this ordinance. So we never talk about the violation of the prohibition and the prohibition of the on section E, which is $300 per day. And there is a lot of things that varies from the discussion that we have at the ordinance committee on the ordinance that we draft and we publish. So, Council President, through you, I would like to ask my colleagues to open the discussion at the ordinance committee again to discuss this new ordinance, because it was not what we discussed, but it is what we actually published. I feel like we are doing something at one committee and talking about something different. We never talk about the violation and the $300 per day at that level. So we also, as far as I remember, I don't see the record here on my iPad. I need to go back on my records, on my previous files. We never. As far as I remember, I don't think that we talked that the DPW was the one taking records and keeping the records of the solicitors. For that reason, Council President, I would like this discussion to be open at the proper committees, which is the ordinance committee going back again. Otherwise, I'm not in favor of the ordinance that is presented to us today, because it was not discussed at the proper committees like it is today.
Thank you, Councilor Rodriguez. Any further discussion? Councilor LaPlante.
Thank you very much. I don't want to spend too much time on the process. I was at each of those ordinance committee meetings I'm not on the ordinance committee, but I was present for both of those. And I know what I submitted, and I know what the city clerk sent down as the first version, and I realized, and I was present when the committee decided to go over an amended draft, which is what we're seeing this evening, holding the public hearing on this evening. So I don't want to spend too much time on the process. I want to talk about the substance, which I think is important. And the substance is the following. We can have the status quo, which is what we're seeing today on various intersections throughout the city. That's what we currently have. Or we can try to change what we currently see on many intersections and street corners throughout the city. We have to be mindful, and one of the speakers already mentioned it, that throughout the country, if you are trying to have a panhandling prohibition, it would be struck down in the courts. So we can't have a panhandling prohibition strictly for panhandling, and your legal opinion that's in our packet from the city attorney helps guide us a little bit on that. But when I received the comments, we heard a few this evening from people, and I'm sure we talked to our constituents, we listened to them, they also know that it's a concern. So we have to craft this in a very different way that's able to withstand any kind of potential court issues. And the way that we do this, again, in line with what our city attorney has provided and opined, is that we look at things in a broader perspective, because if we focus just on one group, those are individuals who are looking to panhandle, it'll die. The courts will certainly throw it out. So we have to expand that to anybody who is requesting money on the corners, be it the Boy Scouts, be it the Little League, be it the soccer team, be any of these organizations that we know that are really good organizations that we like. We may have our kids go through them ourselves, but we cannot just focus on one group. So we have to focus on all these groups so they can withstand a court challenge, because once we start focusing on one, that's when the courts smack. So what this does is try to anticipate what the obstacles will be, and then address it. The second thing that we know, or we believe, or I believe, is that if we put a permit and we put a cost associated with that permit, some people will say, you know something, we can't do that, because if we do, you're really discriminating against people who can't afford the permit. And if you're discriminating against people who can't afford a permit, then you're not allowing them to have free speech. So it's important, and I'm going to make an amendment afterwards, that we make sure that there is no cost for this permit. So with that argument that we are restricting only people that have money who can afford it, we're going to get rid of that. So at some point after the debate is complete, I'm going to include that as an amendment so we're clear, so people aren't confused by that. But it is a safety issue. It's a safety issue across the board, and we have to be smart how we address it. So the 5 points on here are very simple. Prohibit people from standing in public streets to solicit money without a permit. To determine in advance solicitation dates and times and locations. To restrict public way solicitations to daylight hours. To limit solicitation to no more than 3 days per week per permitted party. And to prohibit people from standing in a moving lane of traffic to solicit funds. All common sense, all reasonable things. We're not stopping people from having speech. We're just making sure that it's been done in a safe manner. And so I urge you to read the clerk's, the attorney's comments on this. I think we've got I think the one thing that he says as well as he reviewed this, the key phrase in summary, I think overall the ordinance is defensible if challenged on constitutional grounds. I would, however, suggest that the ordinance shall stately plan that there be no permit fee, which is what I'm going to do. And so I ask you for your support. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but it's a matter of fairness, it's a matter of safety, because if you, I'm pointing at you want to be able to solicit money at a very popular intersection, and then you want to do it, and it's somebody competing, we need to manage that as well. So that's also another consideration. We don't need to have those scrums. So I will encourage you to support this evening and provide some relief and respond to the people who've got concerns about public solicitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Councilor Alvarez Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, through you. And I want to thank the VP for letting me know that there was consideration about the fee, because that's the one thing that wasn't in the written ordinance. So I think it's excellent to make it affordable to everyone. I also just worry about whether we can limit the use of the permit, because I remember years ago in this chamber, there was concern about the baseball league having children in the traffic collecting money. Whereas the firemen have done it or helped a group to do it, they know how to maintain safety. So I'm still concerned as to whether they would be allowed to be in traffic to collect money. I think it's important to remember that there's an issue of liability. The last thing, I guess, is just with the $300, what would happen to a person who is unable to pay the fine? What then would be their punishment, or, for lack of a better word? I'm asking the VP.
Council Vice President.
So, sure. So this is handled no differently than if somebody were to jaywalk or any other kind of violations. If they don't have money, what do the police do in those particular cases? So there's no difference in how they would handle this. And quite frankly, I don't know the specifics behind if a police officer were to find somebody for whatever the other violations are in the city and that person can't afford it. I'm sure that they would treat, in this particular case, the way they would treat any other violations. This is the $300 is a very common, it's the baseline, it's statutory. So there's no difference in that.
Yeah, I don't quite remember what they do with people. I know that if you haven't paid parking violation tickets or so, and you have many of them, you can be jailed for that. And I just want to make sure that I like this and I'm supporting it, but I would like to know at some point, how do we handle it? Because are we going to have the jails filled with people who are panhandling without a permit? So that's why I would like to know, because we could always come back, we could always revisit. But I would like to see something go forward given the concerns of so many that we've heard, particularly this year. So if you would look into that, be great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rodriguez. Councilor Maldonado.
When I spoke to Mr. LaPlante and I reviewed at the committee level the guidelines, I definitely indicated that I was going to support it. I believe that this ordinance is going to regulate, which the Superior Court gives us the power to regulate. It gives us the power to manage the activity and for the safety not only of those individuals who are collecting money, but also for the safety of the citizens. But not only that, but it will give us the opportunity to identify those individuals all groups who are collecting money. And like one speaker said before, we may find ways to help them if there is a need and there's a way that we can help them. So definitely, this ordinance is a good step in the right direction. Right now, there's nothing that we can do, absolutely nothing. And I believe that this ordinance is going to set some parameters that are going to help us to control the situation and also to protect the freedom of speech but also to protect the rights of citizens from being harassed. So definitely I'm going to support it.
Any further discussion?
Sure.
Councilor Abdu?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to speak in favor of this item this evening. Anyone who lives in our city, traverses our city, shops our businesses knows that we have a challenge. We have a challenge. And these panhandlers or people that ask for money at these corners, the problem seems to be expanding. There's a level of almost sophistication to the operation. Mm-hmm. If you travel the same streets, the same corners, you see the same faces, and it's almost like you punch out at a certain time and someone replaces you. Mm-hmm. And it's not happenstance. I do believe some individuals are down on their luck, and I do believe that there is a genuine need with some people. However, there's just a pattern, there's a routine, and there's an expanding problem. And as recently as last week, when I was traveling with my young teen, we were at the corner of South Union and Merrimack, and a gentleman came up to the window. My son just kept looking forward. And I said, "Buddy, you don't have to be afraid." He says, "But Dad, I don't know this guy, and he's at the window." He literally was at the window. I mean, you've all experienced it. And that's people that live in the city. That is older people. That's not a senior. That's not a younger person. We have to respect people. We all have to respect for one another. And part of that is protecting their rights as motorists, as individuals. So at the same time, we want to protect the rights of people and their First Amendment rights and their ability to do this. I think we can move forward this evening, and we can craft something that is respectful of both the person down on their luck as well as the person just trying to get from point A to point B without, I won't use harassment, that's a strong word, but aggravation, impeding that, or quite frankly, a safety issue, right? No one wants to get hurt. So I could go on. I just want to say that I support this. I hope we find our way to yes this evening. I do know you often hear, a lot of us are running for re-election or running for office, and we hear often, there's enough ordinances in the book. Lawrence has got enough ordinances. This is just another ordinance. We have to enforce it. So yes, we do have to enforce. That's an issue, but we have to set a standard. We have to regulate. We have to make this quality of life for these 85 or 80,000 so citizens. We have to make it as good as any other community. And, we have to set the safety net for those that are in need and challenged, but we have to respect everyone. And I believe that this goes a long way to respecting the citizen that just wants to go from point A to point B, get their gallon of milk, go to a city council meeting, or whatever it is they want to do, and respect their privacy. So with that, Mr. President, I ask for everyone's support of this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Abdu. Any other councilors? Sure.
Just the last question. Oh,
A councilor that has not spoken. Any
Brian.
councilors that have not spoken? Councilor
yes,
Ortiz?
just a question.
Good evening. So I do share some of the same sentiments around the table as the need for public safety, the need to regulate anyone that's out there in the median requesting funds. My concern comes with, and I echo Councilor Alvarez Rodriguez, is the amount of the fine. I'm looking up here at different fines. Worcester had proposed a $50 fine when they tried to prohibit, and it got shut down. And so a $300 fine, and the only thing that I remember that we did a $300 fine for parking in a handicap spot, and as a deterrent, and people that are learn from their mistakes are not going to do that again. When, right? You're not going to do that again. But in this instance, I don't want to create criminalization in this case for people that are presently panhandling by creating a fine that is possibly out of reach. It's compounding, and I would feel more comfortable if it said up to $300 and we cap it at that. It seems a little bit much. Jaywalking, I looked up the fine for jaywalking, it's yeah, it varies. It's $1 to $2. It's $1 to $2. Yep, I looked it up. It's $1 to $2 for jaywalking. A different town actually said up to $250. So meaning if their first offense is this, then second offense, and you can be fined up to $250. If we find someone up until $300, maybe that would be more palatable, because I do not, and I share Councilor Abdu in echoing, people are saying we don't need more ordinances. But we do. We're a society, our needs change, and therefore we need to legislate as a body to add regulations that are going to protect our quality of life. And that's what the attempt that we're doing here. We're trying to protect our quality of life in addition to protecting those that are panhandling, and adding and pointing out the fact that it is to everybody. Children cannot be unattended when they are soliciting monies for organizations, and that is a real problem. It's a real problem. Children cannot be unattended. So I'm glad that we pointed that out. I just, at this time, the way that it sits, I cannot say that I'm a yes on this ordinance the way that it is, because I do not want to create more situations where we're criminalizing people and taxing our law enforcement officers more than necessary. Thank you.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Sure. So I have a few questions for the person that put this together, because that was not what we discussed at the ordinance committee. So I would like to call Carlos Jaques, the DPW director. He always does that. See, he's obviously not here because probably he wasn't invited because he doesn't know about this. That's what I'm talking about. We didn't discuss this at the ordinance committee with the proper parties, because that was not what was presented to us, and that was not what we decided at the ordinance committee. This is a public safety issue. Okay, where's the police department? Let's discuss it. Let's have the discussion here at this level. The police department, chief, is not here. We didn't talk to the chief at that level because we didn't define whether or not this is a public safety issue. If it is, and then let's do the proper measurement. Let's as a legislative body, we got to create the law, not just leave it up to whatever wanted to put it up there on paper. Who's going to enforce this law? This ordinance. Question that I have, because that was not what we discussed at the ordinance committee. Is the inspection of services is going to enforce it? Or the police department is going to enforce it? Who is going to give a ticket away to the people? The DPW is involved. I don't know if the police department is involved, and I don't know if the inspection of services is involved. And if the fines are going to be up to $300, who is going to keep record of what ticket, what number is that ticket? Is that the number 3, that number 4, number 5? Or you're going to pay for the number 10, $300? Who is going to keep those records? The police department? The inspection of services? Who is dealing with people? That's what I'm saying. When we discussed this ordinance at when we discussed the proposed ordinance that we talk about it at the ordinance committee, I formally request a legal opinion from the Attorney General's office. What is that? Somebody have seen it here at this body level? No, because we don't have it. And for that reason, Council President, I would like to do a shadow objection.
A shadow objection has been presented. Moving on, document 20217.
Mr. President,
What he said?
A shadow objection has been presented. No
Oh,
further.
okay.
objection. Document 20217, parking, Oxford Street, 20 minutes. Jacqueline's Mini Market, placed on the agenda by Councilor Rodriguez. Mr. Clerk, please read the notice.
What is it?
Document 202, 2017, notice is hereby given the City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 19th, in council chambers at 7 p.m. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning a proposed amendment to the revised ordinances for the City of Lawrence by adding a following new paragraph of the municipal code to the 20-minute parking section to be inserted in proper order. Oxford Street, west side, from a point 20 feet southerly of the intersection of Lowell Street to a point 40 feet of the intersection of Lowell Street. To the extent there are ordinances that exist to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be afforded shall be afforded the opportunity as appearing September 11th.
Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard? Seeing there's none, public hearing is now closed. Councilors,
I
what's
move
your
to
motion?
approve this item
Motion has been
and
made.
to waive the 30 days.
Second.
And it's been properly seconded in the discussion. Seeing there's none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next document is document 22017, parking, 128 Parker Street, Packard Pharmacy, 5-minute parking limit for 3 spaces in the front, Monday through Fridays between the hours of 1:30 to 3 p.m. Placed on the agenda by Council Vice President Mark LaPlante.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry?
I can't hear you.
Once again, document 22017, parking, 128 Parker Street, Packard Pharmacy, 5-minute parking limit for 3 spaces in the front, Monday through Friday between 1:30 and 3 p.m. Placed on the agenda by Council Vice President Mark LaPlante. Mr. Clerk, please read the notice.
Document 220, 2017, notice is hereby given the City Council will hold a public hearing Tuesday, September 19th, in City Council chambers at 7 p.m. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning proposed amendments to the revised ordinances for the City of Lawrence by adding a new paragraph to the municipal code, 10-minute parking to be inserted in proper alphabetical order. Parker Street, east side, from a point 100 feet southerly of the intersection of Bailey Street to a point 160 feet southerly of the intersection of Bailey Street. To the extent there exist ordinances to the contrary, they are hereby repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity as appearing in publication September 11th.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard? Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. I apologize for earlier. I'm Robin Desmet, and I'm a pharmacist and also the manager at Packard Pharmacy. And I've been working there for 30 years, and the store has actually been serving the community of Lawrence for 54 years. So over the past few years, we've been having an issue with a parking issue because there's a school across the street, and the parents come to pick up their children, and they'll park on both sides of the street, taking up all of the parking, and they'll stay there for sometimes an hour. So the issue is, it's kind of a safety issue with our patients, because now the patients can't park in front of the pharmacy at all or even down the street. They're being forced to park further away, and a lot of them are elderly, ill, handicapped, and they don't really have access to the pharmacy now during that time period. So we're just making a modest request for 2 spaces, maybe 10 or 15-minute parking, or 5-minute, whatever you folks deem possible, that would enable people to just pull up, come in the store, pick up their prescriptions, and then go home. That's it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard? Name and address for the record, please.
My name's Betsy Wachowski. I live on Danforth Street. I have been outside of Packard Pharmacy at that time, and it is a zoo with the school being across the street. So I would support her efforts, but 5 minutes to me doesn't seem ample enough. I've never been able to go into any business and come back out in 5 minutes. But I wonder if it could say something that it's reserved for Packard Pharmacy customers, but I know that they also have a private parking lot, so are there not 10, 15-minute spots inside their parking lot? Because my child used to get early intervention in that building, and there was always ample parking in the parking lot there. However, I do support her request, because Parker Street at that time of day is, it's a zoo, but 5 minutes is not enough.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the audience that wishes to be heard?
Ralph Lavin, 77 South Union, apartment number 311. I second their motion.
Is there anyone else from the audience that wishes to be heard? Seeing there's none, public hearing is now closed.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Motion has been made by Councilor LaPlante, seconded by Councilor Reyes. Discussion.
Second.
I'm the author, I usually go first, but I will relinquish the chance for the chair.
I'm sure that you're probably going to be passing the same information, because when they came in front of ordinance committee, we offer 3 10 minutes or 2 15 minutes parking instead of 5, just because we know the great need is of the time. And we didn't think if 5 minutes were going to be enough for someone go in and come out. So it's either 3 10 or 2 15. Yeah, whichever works for them. Is 3 of 10 or 2 of 15, and I believe they will agree with 2 of 15 minutes parking.
That's what I would.
Okay.
Either way would be fine. 3 10-minute spots would be just perfect. But if you, if you can do 2 15s, that's okay too.
What did it say?
We really appreciate it.
I would,
3 of 10. 3 of 10.
Councilor LaPlante?
3 10-minute parkings, because that's what the public notice had that on there, so
Yeah.
it would be consistent with that, it would be my recommendation. And the requester has the same recommendation.
Okay. Councilor Rodriguez. All set? Councilor
What was
Ortiz?
your opinion?
Councilor
Yeah, it was
LaPlante?
like,
that's all right, hold on.
So I just wanted, I hope that we can pass it this evening. This helps a local business get some stuff through. I also want to hearken, just as a reminder, Council President, some people may be confused. I don't think we're going to be using it on this item, but when we use a charter objection, that means debate is cut off entirely, as a reminder, and that we can't talk anymore about it that evening. It has to be pushed on to the next meeting.
yes.
I don't think we're going to have a charter objection on this matter, but we have seen one this evening. I think it's important that we understand how that works, because some of us may not know how that plays out. Thank you.
All right, seeing there's no further, Councilor Alvarez Rodriguez.
Yes. What hours? I was looking for the hours.
Right here.
Are the hours only during the
1:30 to 3 p.m.
1:30 to 3.
1:30 to 3?
That's what it
Yep.
says on.
Yep, that was the hours. 1:30 to 3 p.m., right?
Right? To 3 p.m.?
No, on the police report say from 8 to 8.
Oh, that's what she's.
8 to 8.
But isn't their business
8 to 8.
open at 10 or 9?
It's during
No, the
business.
purpose, one person at a time, councilors. The purpose of the request is because at that time, school is letting out. So a lot of the parents are parking in front of the pharmacy, specifically during that time period.
Oh, thank
It is
you.
because of the school dismissal.
So in the morning, they don't have that problem?
No, they don't have that problem. But we have
Thank
the
you.
applicants
Do you
here.
have that problem in the morning hours?
No, in the morning, we open at 9 a.m. We don't have any issue at all in the morning, because they park there before. And I want to stress, we're not against parents or children or the school. It's just makes it impossible for the patients to get to the pharmacy. But in
Right?
the morning, there's no issue.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're pretty busy.
What are the hours?
That's a pretty busy spot.
Because this,
Just that, I agree, because I know that's a pretty busy spot. And this has been a really productive business where a lot of people come to see you. So not only for the medicine, but the medical supplies that you sell that are not available elsewhere. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Alvarez Rodriguez. A councilor that has not spoken yet, Councilor Ortiz.
So I'm just looking for clarification, and I think I hear it, I hear the same concerns around the table. I'm looking here, and it says 3 parking spaces for 10 minutes, Monday through Friday, 8 to 8.
We have amended that to 1:30 to 3
So
p.m.
that's what the police, so where's that amended?
So the police report, it is the suggestion offered by the police department. We
Correct.
do not have
And
to,
then-
we do not have to vote on that report. We can amend it as the legislative branch of government.
Correct. And so are we amending that verbally now, or is that in writing above?
That has been the motion presented by Councilor LaPlante.
So the motion before us is what?
1:30 to 3 p.m.
So 1:30 to 3 p.m.,
3.
3 10-minute spots. And do you have a parking lot?
There is a parking lot that's available to people, and that's also jam-packed at that time,
Because the school is using it?
the school. There, it's also used, the lawyers and all the people that are there use it, but also the school uses the whole thing. Both sides of the street, up and down, the parking lots, the whole thing.
Okay. So my original idea was 2 15-minute spots, because 3 spots would be a lot to lose, especially if you have a parking lot. But if you're saying that's also being utilized, and that's how come you need to at least save 3 spots for a certain amount of time.
Right.
How are we going to enforce that? Are you
Signage.
prepared to put cones at a certain
If
hour?
I'm allowed to, I would be happy to do it if I'm allowed to, yes.
It will be enforced just the same way we enforce the same parking regulations throughout the city.
And are we going to notify the school to notify their parents?
We don't normally do that throughout the city. So
Right?
the signs will be
But we're
posted.
specifically making this to
No.
mitigate an issue with the school.
Yeah, but signs will
So
be
as a
posted.
right, so as a courtesy, do you think that we should talk to the, send,
As a courtesy,
we
everyone
should
who,
send a
everyone,
letter to the principal?
as a courtesy, everyone who drives by should read the signage that is posted throughout the city. If we were to do that, we should send correspondence to every, I would be opposed to that idea, simply because then we will have to send correspondence to every resident, every time we add a handicap sign, every time we add a new stop sign. I think that, we will
What
have
I
to do it.
don't want to see, I
If we
think
do
that
it for
as,
one, we have to do it for all.
right, no, I don't agree with that. So I think that we need to do our due diligence, and seeing as there's a community that uses these spots specifically for this, I don't think it's a problem for us to send a letter as a courtesy to the principal of Lawrence Catholic Academy and say, can you please inform your parents that this is coming to place, because we would not want them to, one, have an unneeded ticket or a negative communication. It's just an idea. I
Sure.
can send it personally.
Not a problem. Signs will be posted just like we do citywide. A councilor that has not spoken, Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes. I was gonna say something very quick, but I mean, I was wondering, Councilor Ortiz, do you want to make that as a form of a motion? To send a correspondence to the, as a courtesy to
It's
the?
just as a courtesy.
Do you want to put that as a form of a motion? Because that could be done.
I think I would make that as a form of a motion.
The motion has been made, it's been second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Motion presented. Council Vice President,
No.
Council Alvarez Rodriguez,
Yes.
Council Maldonado,
Yes?
Council Ortiz.
Yes.
Council Alvarez.
No.
Council Rodriguez.
Yes.
Council DePena,
Yes.
Council Reyes.
No.
And Council President?
No. Motion carries.
4 no.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes, that was, I have another point, but it was clarified throughout the discussion, so I have nothing else to say. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you.
This question,
Yep.
will we, the 30 days will apply here, right?
Yes.
So it will give time for anybody who's affected to address the council?
Sure.
Okay.
Seeing there's no
I wanna
further...
I just want to make, Mr. President, I want to make sure
Councilor
that the language is clear, that there are, part of my motion, make sure there's 3 10-minute parking spots. And part of the motion includes the fact that it'll be there between the hours of 1:30 to 3 o'clock, Monday through Friday.
3 o'clock.
Only, let me do this, only when school is in session during September to June, end of June. That way, there's more parking than the other summer months.
During the school year.
Just wanna, do they have a summer program?
A summer program.
I don't think it's as rigorous as during the week. Anyway, that's my motion.
Okay.
That's my,
Second?
So is that part of your original motion?
I just amended my original motion.
Okay, so no additional seconds necessary. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on. Document 25517 is a handicap parking at 67 Amherst Street, placed on the agenda by Mayor Dan Rivera and Councilor Abdu. Mr. Clerk, please read the notice.
Document 255, 2017, the City Council, notice is hereby given the City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 19, 2017, in Council Chambers at 7 p.m. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning a proposed amendment to the revised ordinances to be amended by adding a new paragraph to the handicap parking section of the municipal code concerning Amherst Street, north side, from a point 160 feet easterly of utility pole number 8048 to a point 180 feet easterly of said utility pole. To the extent there exists ordinances to the contrary, they are repealed. To that extent only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity, appearing in publication on September 11th.
Thank you. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard? Seeing there's none, public hearing is now closed. Mr. Clerk, Councilors, what's your motion?
Motion to approve and waive the 30 days.
Second?
Motion has been made and properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next document is document 26017. Stop sign request to place 2 additional stop signs on Danford Street, placed on the agenda by Betsy and Mark Walkowski. Mr. Clerk, please read the notice.
Document 260, 2017, notice is hereby given the City Council will hold a public hearing Tuesday, September 19th in Council Chambers at 7 p.m. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning a proposed amendment to the revised ordinances to be further amended by adding a new paragraph to the stop sign section of the code to be inserted in proper alphabetical order. Danforth Street, southbound drivers at Danforth at Lenox Circle, and Danforth Street, northbound drivers on Danforth at West Hawley Street. To the extent there exist any ordinances to the contrary, they are appealed to that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity as appearing in publication on September 11th.
Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard?
Betsy Wachowski, 3 Danforth Street. This is my request. I am requesting stop sign at the top and bottom of Danforth Street. There are currently no stop signs there, so it's a little misleading that it says additional because there just aren't any. There's 3-way stops at both of those intersections, and nobody has to stop anyway currently. So where we live, there's only 5 homes on the street that have a Danforth address, but there's 8 homes affected the way that they T-bone up to Lenox Circle in West Hawley / Dunstable. We are a heavily foot-traveled street for the Frost School. There's no direct path, so the children have to come around. So just the number, we're also, it's a pretty steep hill such that school buses in the winter, if the streets haven't been hit yet, they go around because they can't make it up that street and proceed onto Lennox Circle. So it's steep enough that cars come roaring down the hill and then kind of proceed. There's just no stopping. The cars are speeding. It's unsafe. All 5 of the homes on Danforth Street have children, 2 of which of the homes have children with disabilities, autism, so they lack road safety awareness. And then at the other end of the street, there's a small child that's blind and has Down syndrome. I have gotten signatures from 3 people in the neighborhood that support my request. I also have maps if anybody wants to see it. I did bring it to the City Council on June 29th, but just hoping. I'm not a traffic engineer. I don't know that my request is necessarily the best placement of stop signs, but I'm hoping to just have cars stop and be more aware and look and slow down as they cruise at a high rate of speed through that thickly settled neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else from the audience that wishes to be heard? Seeing there's none, public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what's your motion?
Motion to approve discussion, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been
And
properly
also
seconded.
discussion.
Councilor Rodriguez.
If I have the petitioner coming over.
Betsy.
Betsy.
Betsy?
Yes,
You wanted to see the map? Do you understand? You want to see what I have?
please. Basically, you're requesting a stop sign,
She have to go back
Betsy,
to the mic.
you have to come back to the podium. Thank you.
Thanks. All done?
hold on, let me ask you.
Here.
I have,
The traffic
you
engineer
have
will-
Lennox, Sear, and Wiley Street. Those are the 2 streets that you're requesting a stop sign?
At the intersection of Danforth and Lennox Circle,
Yeah,
and
so
then at the
basically-
other end of Danforth where it meets West Hawley. Excuse me, if you turn
Okay,
right,
so
it's West
basically-
Hawley, if you turn left, it's Dunstable, but
So basically, anybody that's traveling on Dartmouth, on Danforth, they gotta stop on basically Lennox Circle? That's the request?
and especially West Hawley and, I mean, either one, because that one's a hill. As you go up to Lennox Circle, it's a steep hill. So it's difficult to see up and around, but
So there is no stop sign?
there is no stop sign.
Okay, so basically, we're requesting a stop sign of Dartmouth going into West Wesley, right there, and then going to the other side as well. Or going to Lennox as well.
Lennox and then West
So-
Hawley or Dunstable,
So
depending
people
on.
traveling on Dartmouth gonna stop?
Yes.
Okay,
We want them to stop, slow down, yes.
yes, all right.
Yep.
So, Council President, right now, there is no stop sign on those 2 locations. It should be in some type of traffic control there.
Thank you.
So, I'm definitely gonna support it.
Okay. There's
Okay, I'm,
Councilor Alvarez Rodriguez.
yes, thank you. I did see that it said add, what is it? To make sure that people who are driving know that there are children, all the children should be covered. And I'm hoping that along with addressing this amendment and getting it passed, because they need those stop signs, that we support a letter to DPW to go ahead and put up those signs. We don't need to do any major research since we know that we've done it in the past. So I would like to suggest that to the author of the motion, that he include a letter to DPW for the signs warning that there are children in that area.
Oh, yeah, okay. I support that
Autistic
amendment.
children.
Yes.
I support that amendment.
Can you repeat
Good.
the motion?
So
Can I
the
speak to that?
current-
Is that okay?
So the current motion on the floor is to accept the request as presented. Councilor Alvarez Rodriguez has suggested, not made a motion, has made a suggestion that correspondence is also sent to the DPW department to include children
With autism.
in, there's a sign that we use from the city to highlight that there's a child with disabilities in
Right.
the neighborhood. So we already have that
Point of
sign.
information, there are 2 signs on the street already there for autistic children.
Okay?
Yeah,
So we
both.
already have those signs. So the motion, as presented on the table, it is to approve the stop sign request at the intersection of Danford and Lennox Street and Danford and West Holly Street.
Okay.
Okay? Seeing there's no further discussion, Councilor Ortiz?
I was just trying to get clarification. So I support that motion. I happen to spend a lot of my time on that street, and I've spent a lot of my time over the years with the kids playing with all those other kids that are there. And though the police don't show accidents in regards to cars, children have been hit by bicycles, have been thrown off, and gone into the grass or into the street. And it is a heavily traveled, and it's the hangout place because it's the best hill to go down with your bike. It's the best hill to go down with your skateboard. It's the best hill to go down when
it snows.
Yeah, when it's well, if you're smaller, if you're bigger, you want the bigger hills. So yes, we sometimes I know that when people are looking, they were like, oh, more stop signs. Oh, the evidence is not there for traffic accidents. Well, ask how many broken bones or sprained legs have happened because cars come off of Jefferson, because it goes off of Jefferson, down Lennox, come down Danforth, and with another car coming this way, they don't stop. Nobody stops. And they're not realizing that as soon as they turn that bend, there's a kid just laying there, just because they're just laying there. They're doing whatever they do. Or they've just finished, biting it on their bike or something like that. So I'm glad that that this is coming into place. I probably should have wrote this up a long time ago. It was one of my kids was one that bit it. And so I'm glad that this is going to add safety to that area because there are a lot of children in that area.
Thank you, Councilor Ortiz.
Thank you.
Seeing there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next document is document 27717 Walnut Street, one way from Irving Ave to Park Street. It was placed on the agenda by myself, Council President Vasquez. Mr. Clerk, please read the notice.
Document 277, 2017, notice is hereby given the City Council will hold a public hearing Tuesday, September 19, 2017, in council chambers at 7 p.m. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning the proposed amendment to the revised ordinances to be amended by adding a new paragraph to the one-way streets and alleys section of the municipal code concerning Walnut Street from Irving Ave to Park Street in a northerly direction to the extent they exist in the ordinances to the contrary, they are repealed in that respect only. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity is appearing in publication on September 11th.
Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard?
Oh, good.
Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Council. Alta Gracia Puerto Real, 60 Walnut Street. I'm here just for a petition for Walnut Street. I live in between Park and Irving Street. There's 2 blocks. Walnut Street from Park to Lawrence Street is already a one-way street. I bought a house like in 2003 there, and it was quiet, but as you know, the traffic in Lawrence is crazy nowadays, and I'm being witnesses a lot of problems there because it's two-way, it's too narrow, the streets. There's a school there too. There's a lot of kids walking to the school. There's a bodega now there that's been there for a while, but when I moved there, I wasn't there, so it was quiet. But after that, also, there's a lot of trucks passing by. So I've been seeing a lot of people arguing also because when they come, they have to reverse in order to leave another car pass by. And it is a problem. So my petition is please make it a one-way to complete the whole street to be one-way.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to be heard?
All right. My name is Luis Grullon. Good evening. My name is Luis Grullon from 52 Walnut Street in Lawrence. And the reason I hear is a same situation we got. For so many times, I had to be like a referee over there between people, you know. And I don't be surprised someone kill another person over there. In the winter time, they fight, they make a big fight, you know. And so many times I had to be, hey, please, you know, be like a brother. I don't know how, for long time, we still have that situation over there. It's too bad. It's too bad. That's easy. Only 2 blocks, like she say, make a whole thing from Irving Street to Lawrence. From Park to Lawrence Street is one way. You know what the position we are, right? But please don't let the people fight. No anymore over there, because I'm afraid. A lot of people, they pray, they say, somebody gonna kill somebody over there. In the winter time, I don't know, sometimes I had to wait a long time to have a chance to get in my house. And same problem you have. Everybody, every single family over there, they say it's okay to do that. I hope you understand, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot to say that, you know, all the neighbors in that area, they agree with this. They were talking about it all the time, and I decided to take action and have a meeting in my house. So I have a list of people, 12 people who attended the meeting, and they all in favor of it, plus the other one that couldn't go. I, you know, invited them to come here. They couldn't come, but they all agree and they're happy about it if this becomes one way. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to be heard? Seeing there's none, public hearing is now closed. Councilors, what's your motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Councilors, I was going to request that if we could have waived the 30 days.
Motion to reconsider my vote.
So you could just simply amend the motion.
Oh, amend the motion?
Yeah.
All right, no problem.
Waive the 30-day.
I put the motion, you took it as a...
You were the author.
made the
You
Okay,
just
because
waived.
3 people talk at the same time. Yeah, I would like to amend the motion to waive the 30 days.
Okay, so is there anyone opposed to waiving the 30 days? Okay, so the motion was approved as with the waiver.
Got it.
Thank you. Next document is document 28517, residence ticket parking, Park Street, between Jackson and Berkeley Street, to be deleted. Placed on the agenda by Hugo Guzman. Mr. Clerk, please read the notice.
Document 285, 2017 notice is hereby given. The City Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 19, 2017, in council chambers. The purpose of said hearing is to gather testimony, information, and public input concerning proposed amendment of the revised ordinances for the City of Lawrence to be amended by deleting the following paragraph from the permit parking section of the municipal code concerning Park Street south side from the intersection of Berkeley Street to the intersection of Jackson Street. Persons wishing to be heard shall be afforded the opportunity. Notice was had by publication appearing in print media on September 11th and noticed by a list of abutters provided by the assessors at the direction of council of the affected area and location.
Okay, public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard? Name and address for the record, please.
Excuse me?
Name and address for the record,
Sure.
please.
My name is Gloria Candelario, 12 Park Street. The reason that I'm here, we're here, is that we did come down to an agreement for the parking on Park Street. Now, even though I know it's going to be a little tough for us, we're willing to sacrifice and we're willing to work. We're willing to leave bygones be bygones and be in peace already. Hopefully tonight, this is the end. The only thing that we want to say is we did agree that about giving the resident on 245 Jackson Street 2 parking spots, as long as we get 6 spots. because we have 12 Park Street's a single family to get one parking spot. 3 Park Street gets 1 parking spot. 8 through 10 Park Street should be getting 2 parking spots, because that's 2 family. And 6 Park Street should be getting 2 parking spots because they have 2 families also. The only thing we also want to make sure that everybody starts being responsible of cleaning up of where they're going to be parking. Because we're not going to be cleaning that whole section any longer. If 245 wants to also park on Park Street, they have to be responsible also to clean up that section of where they're willing to park, of where they're going to be parking. Also in the winter, we'll take care of, each of us have decided, our neighbors, we'll take care of the parking space, of moving our snow and everything, but everybody has to do their part. So we think that's fair, as long, because we want to keep Lawrence clean, and we want to make sure we're all working together in doing it. Because I don't think it's fair for only one neighbor or a few neighbors to be cleaning when others are going to also be using the parking. I think we all need to work together.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard?
Yep, I guess.
Yep.
So they say yes, I guess I said it all. So again, we just want to already let bygones be bygones, this to be the end, and that is it. But we truly want 245 Jackson Street also to understand that they also has to be responsible in making sure if there is garbage or whatever in that section, they need to clean it up. Because we don't want to see our street with garbage at all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard?
I'm going to be translating.
Sure. Name and
Muy
address
buenas
for the record,
noches.
please.
Good night, everyone.
Mi nombre es Dinora Norbertos.
My name is Dinora Norberto.
Vinimos por el caso de las 245 de la Yaso Compar. Nosotros tenemos 2 años tratando de resolver este problema.
So we live in 245 Jackson Street, and we're dealing with this situation for 2 years, and we came to make a solution tonight. Well, to have a solution.
Necesitamos que esta noche todos cojan conciencia en nuestro caso, solo que se trate de tomar lo mejor posible para las ambas situaciones de las 2 calles.
So we came tonight so everyone can, to understand the situation and find a solution for both sides.
Yeah. And mis niñas llegan hasta las 12 de la noche porque trabajan y estudian en la universidad. Tienen que parquearse a 2 calles, aun cuando tenemos una calle que no pertenece y no pueden parquearse ahí porque tienen un resident park.
So my daughters came like at 12 at night, and they have to park too far to park because we don't have a spot to park on Park Street, even though we are, part of our house is on Park Street.
Nuestra casa tiene medida por el lado de la par más que por la Yaso.
So our house is more like, our backside is like larger than for the Park Street than Jackson.
Vinimos a buscar la solución porque ya que a nosotros no se nos permite parqueo, aquí en Loren no hay calle privada, creo yo que no, para cierto X personas.
So we want to be included on the parking spaces because we are not right now. And she says that nobody has a private street just to them.
La limpieza para nosotros no es problema porque ya que yo trabajo de IKEA, siempre nos ocupamos de limpiar nuestros frentes, nuestros lados, nuestro espacio. Hemos limpiado incluso lo de los vecinos también y no nos importa la limpieza. Nosotros nos conviene más la limpieza que a todo.
So we want to clean too. I have a daycare and I like to clean it, and we clean our size and our neighbor's size, and we don't have any matter to clean up.
Nosotros necesitamos parqueo para la casa de nosotros, ya que la casa de nosotros no es single house.
And we need a parking space because we don't have anywhere to park, even on Jackson Street, even on Park.
En la Jackson no se puede parquear nadie.
Nobody can park on Jackson Street in the front because I don't know, they have that, yeah.
Necesitamos que nos tomen en cuenta la solución que se haga que hacer esta misma noche, porque ya nosotros hemos venido varias veces aquí, hay muchos casos en la ciudad de Lawrence que tratar, no este caso es muy simple, que no se puede arreglar.
So it's a simple case, and I know there are more matters in Lawrence that this can be, we want a solution tonight because we don't want to go and come back and forth to find a solution for this.
Name and address for the record, please. Your name and address.
Mi nombre es Hugo Guzmán.
My name is Hugo Guzmán.
Nosotros tenemos en esa dirección unos 5 años.
We lived there for 5 years.
Yo no creo cuál es el conflicto tan indigno de la persona que, sabiendo que no utiliza un parqueo, cree que cuando se mueran se lo van a llevar a la caja. Y eso no es así. Vivimos en un país democrático y yo no veo por qué hay que hacerle la vida imposible a los demás.
The thing is too long to translate, I'm sorry. The thing is, he said that I don't know what is the problem that our neighbors have because they don't even want us to park in Park Street. And we have been fighting for this for almost more than 6, I think, months or 2 years. We have been getting tickets with this, and my dad is concerned with this point because I think we should we are society. We're supposed to get along and house. We are neighbors too. Yeah.
Estamos indignados por la situación que hemos tenido durante todo este tiempo, que a nosotros no se nos ha tomado en cuenta para nada cuando nosotros pagamos impuestos en este país, como todo.
Y además nosotros no molestamos a nadie.
We don't bother nobody in there around us, and I don't know what is the dignity that they have or for this situation. And
Pase buena noche y gracias.
Okay.
thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Councilor, I have a question before we call the motion.
Wait.
No? But it's just about the motion. Okay.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to be heard? Name and address for the record, please.
Edwin Candelario, 48A Oakwood Ave, Lawrence, Mass. I think the 2 parking spots is fair. I mean, let's be serious. They got a 3-car garage plus the 2 parking spots, that's 5 spots. If you need more than 5 spots, I think it's kind of ridiculous. I think it's pretty fair. They all agreed on it. I mean, it's 4 houses against 1. And your parking ordinance does say where you pay your taxes, the street you pay your taxes on. They pay on Jackson, they pay on Park. I think the 2 parking spots is a fair shot. Because technically to what you guys have in your ordinance, it's to where you pay your taxes. They pay on Jackson, they pay on Park. Doesn't matter if your house is all the way back on Park Street, because our house faces Jackson Street too, or their house, my parents' house. So I think the 2 spots is fair. And the actual translation to what he said wasn't, they're so worried about parking spots like they could take it to the grave. I mean, there's no need for sarcasm. Let's be serious. Everybody's cool. I think the 2 spots is respectful. And I think removing the spots is kind of like a slap in the face to the taxpayers on Park Street. I think just be fair with everybody. The 2 spots is pretty cool in my opinion. I think anything less than that or anything more than that is asking too much. I mean, it's just a ridiculous thing. It's parking, let's get over with it. 2 spots, let's move on. I mean, we got to deal with the heroin, we got to deal with gang-related problems, we got to deal with the rent crisis. I mean, there's so much more to deal with. 2 spots, call it a day, that's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to be heard?
Well, I want to speak with myself now. I believe this is simple. We just want to be included on the resident parking. That's our mission. We want to be included because we are not right now. And then had they been saying that they have that we have garages, but they too they have they have garages in their houses, and we still need parking spaces. We just want to be included because we feel that we are not included on the resident parking, even though they know that there are still spaces for us around like at night because our issues at night, and they know that there are still parking spaces for us to park. The thing is that they don't want us to be included, and we feel that we are unsupported with this at this point, and we just want to be included on the parking spaces for the resident parking because we live there. We are not like on the other side of Jackson. We are in the right corner.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to be heard? An address for the record, please.
Edwin Aponte, 6 Park Street. I also say, I have a daughter that she's a nurse, and she have different shift, different rotation. So by having a daughter that come at 12 o'clock and don't find a parking spot, I have the same problem too. So I need some more consideration for them.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard? Seeing there's none, public hearing is now closed.
I
Councilors,
move
what's
that
your
we
motion?
reject
Mr.
the
President.
request to remove resident sticker parking on Park Street between Jackson and Berkeley Street.
There's a motion on the floor.
Motion to remove?
Remove.
Second the motion.
Second.
Mr. President.
1 second. So the motion as presented by Councilor Alvarez Rodriguez is a motion to reject the removal of the resident street parking.
To reject the removal.
The removal. And if I may, Council President, I want to thank everybody in the ordinance committee.
Let me ask first.
Okay.
Was the motion
No, withdraw my second.
Okay, so is there
I
a second?
second the motion.
Motion
Yeah.
has been made and properly second. Councilor Alvarez Rodriguez.
Yes, I want to thank the ordinance committee members for spending a great deal of time in helping the 2 neighbors work together. I was very, very happy to hear that there has been, resolution, that people are satisfied with the 2 parking spaces that they will be in control of. Because this way, it guarantees that her daughter would be able to park there when she returns from school. Also, resident sticker parking is not unique to Park Street. There are other areas in Lawrence and in other cities where that happens, again, because of the problem that people have. Now, when the original ordinance was made, we included the thought that we were dealing with a 2-family home. When she came forward to us, she told us it's a 3-family home. So I would advise this family to come to City Hall and straighten that out, to get the proper occupancy permit, and that way, when people are thinking about the area, they will have proper information. And the other suggestion that I have for the family is that they look at maybe a drop-off pickup area for the daycare children. So, thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Councilor Maldonado.
Councilor De Peña and I have met independently with each of the affected residents. And we have come to an agreement where 2 parkings will be assigned to the property on Jackson Street, and 6 parking spaces will be distributed among the other 7 owners that live on Park Street. So it seems to me that if an agreement, a reasonable agreement has been reached, then there's no reason to remove the parking restriction, and we should remove it. So that's the reason why I'm seconding the motion, so that we can reject that and remove the document. Again, I believe it's very reasonable that both parties have agreed, and that the residents on Park Street are going to get 2 parkings, and the residents on Park Street are going to get 6.
Thank you. Point of clarification, Mr. Hugo Guzman and I had a conversation earlier this afternoon as well, before the meeting, and I have a question for Mr. Guzman. Mr. Guzman, Councilor Maldonado stated that he had a meeting with you. Do you meet with Councilor Maldonado?
Usted se juntó con el concejal Maldonado, dice que usted se juntó con él esta tarde. ¿Usted se aconsejó con él?
No, con Maldonado.
He wasn't there.
No.
No.
I have a meeting.
Hold on a second.
Do you, because Councilor Maldonado, if I'm not mistaken, stated that he had.
I stated that independently, Mr. Peña and I have met with the group. So Mr. Peña met with the other family on Jackson Street.
Okay, that
That's what I
clarifies.
said.
Okay.
Do you meet with Councilor de Peña?
Junto con
No, con
Peña.
Okay.
Con Peña, sí.
No, that
Con
clarifies my
Brian.
concern. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Guzman. Okay, Councilor.
Sure.
Councilor Reyes was first. Councilor
all right.
Rodriguez.
Thank you, Councilor President. And I have to thank both the applicants and the resident. They both know that I had been meeting with them more than one time, tried to resolve this issue. Unfortunately, we didn't come with any agreement or solution by the time that we met. I'm glad that you come out, and I remember speaking with both and asking that if a 2-spot was going to be fair. The reason that I want to mention that is because it's been a lot of going on, talking back and forth about this. And I think it's appropriate for me to say that whenever we have some issue in our district, we do pay attention. We do try to do our best to work for both, not for one, not for another. And I'm glad that you became with that solution, and if that works, I always want you to remember that you are neighbors, that you are family, that if something happens, it's not only going to happen in one side, it's going to be happening in the whole street. And I was involved from the beginning, and you know you are both here, and you know that I took my time to meet with you, and we met not only one time. So it was also phone calls, just tried to be coming with this agreement, and nothing happened. Thank God that, something come out after, and hopefully this can work for both.
Council President?
Councilor Rodriguez.
Sure. I just want to clarify how this thing is going to work based on the agreement that is going to violate our city ordinance. But anyway, let's put it in perspective, perhaps. If we decide to go with the current proposal that is right now on the current motion that is on the floor, we're going to be removing the item. What's going to happen on that scenario, Council President?
At that point, so there's a question posted in terms of legislative procedure. If tonight the motion as presented, which is a motion to reject the resident sticker parking to be deleted, if the motion were to be approved, what will happen is that we have actually not found a solution or an agreement based on the request by both residents. What that will do is that it will keep everything as is. No agreement has been made.
Right. So my thoughts as the author of that motion was that we would delete the current requested motion, and then once we do that, we can have another motion that properly articulates what the agreement is.
In order for
So
that,
include 345 Jackson Street.
we will not be able to do that because we will have to have a public hearing specific to the new request that has been made. We will be in violation of the publishing the notice in a timely manner. So I understand the request, and it might seem like, but it's the legislative procedure. If we were to reject the motion tonight, reject the removal tonight, we didn't reach the agreement that neither petitioners are looking for.
Right,
So
but
legislatively, we haven't taken any action.
Right. But then again, I believe that the two families that are involved here, or in the rest of the neighborhood, they are in agreement, and they have gotten permits before, I think supported by Mayor Rivera, right? They have gotten permits before to park there. There's no reason why they couldn't get that again, and then, you know, we will move on making it official.
Yeah, what I'm saying here is that legislatively, no action will be taken if we were to reject the I'm not saying that I will be voting tonight one way or the other. What I am saying is what the legislative process entails. We could, you know, direct the question to the clerk.
What I'm saying is that it's better to
Mr. Clerk, am I
leave it.
mistaken?
No, that sounds accurate. It's a new item. It'd have to be assigned a new item number and referred to committee for further adoption, presented to the city attorney, whether or not a draft ordinance
Whether or not
concerning
it's
their
legal.
agreement
Ah.
in detail.
Whether or not
I
we
couldn't tell you
violate
what the
it. No se
agreement
puede.
is, even if I had it in front of me. I don't even know it.
Right, but also remember that if we approve this, that will remove the resident parking. And these neighbors have worked very hard to make sure that they can secure parking for their loved ones. So, you know, I am not in favor of even temporarily removing the resident sticker parking.
Again, the motion is to is to reject the deletion. If that motion is approved or not approved is up to the council. I'm
Right.
talking beyond that, whether there's an agreement or not, is whether or not it can be drafted into a legally recognizable public ordinance for public hearing, and whether or not that can be approved as adopted, that's way down the road. Your action to do whatever you need to do regarding this petition, to delete or not delete, that's the motion before the council now. If your desire is to delete, is to reject the deletion as you proposed, then the council will vote in that way. If the council chooses not to take any action on the item, it could table it. But the motion before the
Oh, we
council,
could table it, okay.
the motion before the
Because-
council right now is to reject the deletion.
Okay, so again.
Yes, okay.
So then we
Let me,
need,
no, Councilor Alvarez Rodriguez, Councilor
Yes,
Rodriguez
if
has
let
the
me
floor.
finish.
No, Councilor Rodriguez has the floor.
Oh.
Yes.
Just since the beginning.
Okay.
All right, so let me go back. The question is, if we approve that, the motion that is in the floor right now to delete the park, to delete the current items or the proposal, that means that the parking signs, that the present parking signs are gonna stay in place. And currently, the people from Park Street won't be able to park there up to we have a new item on the agenda, publish it, and, all right, how
So,
it is.
Again,
On Jackson, that's what I meant, sorry.
yes, so based on the correction, yes. What this will do, based on how the motion was presented, is that it will make no changes
No
whatsoever.
changes right now, so the resident,
changes.
the
Everything
resident
remains
blocks
as
are gonna
is.
stay. The people from Jackson Street won't be able to park till we have a new item on the agenda, go to the ordinance committee, publish it, send it back to here, publish it, probably 2 months.
3 months.
3 months. So in 3 months, people from Jackson Street will be able to park on Park Street. Am I correct?
Yes, based on
So therefore, if that motion is approved, no change. If we approve the item as presented, the parking, the resident parking is gonna be removed.
No.
No. If we all do the otherwise, as
If we don't
presented.
reject it,
Let me go back, let's go back again. Legislatively, let's speak from this, from the as a legislative branch of government, our role right now is to take action on the motion that has been presented before us.
Okay.
The motion presented is a motion to reject the removal, the deletion of resident sticker parking. That is a motion as presented by Councilor
Yes.
Alvarez Rodriguez and second by Councilor Maldonado. If we were to vote in favor of the motion, we didn't come to a solution to what both parties are seeking. So in reality, we did nothing as a legislative branch of government. No action was taken either in support or against, or no, we didn't do anything. If we were to say no to the request presented by Councilor Alvarez Rodriguez, what we are in turn saying is that we don't agree with her motion and we are seeking a
New
second motion.
Yes.
What that
Okay,
will be, I'm not saying what, but
So, what do you know?
so.
so you're saying that
Am
after.
I correct, Mr. Clerk?
That's correct.
Wait a minute, you're saying that after people vote down my motion, that then there will be
Let's
another?
presuming, I'm not saying, it's presuming, I'm not saying, I'm not telling anyone to either vote it up or down. I'm here, I just want to make sure that when we take, at the end of the day, when we make the motion, everyone understands what we're doing. Because based on how the motion has been presented, no solution has been given to any one of the
Right,
residents.
legally and technically and officially.
Yes.
But what we achieved, and particularly the people, Brian, Maldonado, Estela, and Councilor Rodriguez, is that they've achieved, and I think you were part of the discussion on a few of them. You guys achieved something greater, which is to have two families that were, and neighbors that were adamant, reach a viable solution. And since they're talking to one another, okay, I know that they're not going to, they could get the permit that they were getting before. The people on Jackson Street
Through you, Council
did
President.
get permits to park on Park Street.
Oh, I have the floor, right?
The police department provided that.
I want to point out, the floor, Councilor Rodriguez does have the floor.
Still?
Yeah, I haven't given the floor to any other councilor. We've been
Still, I haven't have my answers.
Wait. I just want to point out, as the most senior member, you will understand that the legislative process in the city council functions that way. If we were to take action, we didn't take any action. So even though the residents agree on something, we're basically telling them, you agree onto something, but we're just going to walk away from it and take no action. That's how it is being presented tonight in the motion. We're telling them, thank you for agreeing, but go home. We didn't do anything.
So what do you suggest?
My suggestion, me personally,
yes,
I will present this as a new document because we need to get, the reason is because we need to order a public hearing in order to be able to include 245 Jackson Street to be part of the resident sticker. So even though it's covering some, we are not giving them the solution that they came to seek. Both residents from Park Street and residents from Jackson Street. Legislatively speaking, if we were to do that tonight, as a body, we just made them waste their time, both parties.
Right. Okay.
Councilor Rodriguez, you all set?
No.
Okay, Councilor Maldonado is waiting.
I
It's been going on all night.
I cannot, are you finished?
I have one question. and
one
then
question.
You guys were discussing about my question.
I agree. So one question, Councilor Rodriguez. I just want everyone to understand the legislative process that
That's
we
why
have.
I asked the question, because it is nice to talk about what we agree, but what is legal?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I was wondering. So if we vote yes, is agreeing to what we just discussed, and no is continue with the discussion. Okay, no more questions.
If you say no, there's continuation of the discussion.
Continue with the discussion.
Basically, yes. Councilor Maldonado.
That don't make sense.
I cannot understand why we are complicating things so much. We know that removing the parking restriction is not the answer. We know that. Okay, and the fact that the parties have come to an agreement makes sense.
Yes.
It makes sense.
It does.
So, Mr. Clerk, a question for you. Can this council direct the police department to issue only 8 tickets and issue those, parking permits, to issue only 8 parking permits because there's only 8 parking spots, and direct them to issue them to the specific residents that we identified?
I have no idea.
You have no idea?
No idea.
Okay. So,
information?
since the clerk has no idea, again, it is reasonable to think that something else can be worked out and that we can come up with a letter to the police department to ask them to simply issue 8 parking stickers, 2 to the people living on Jackson Street and 6 to the other residents.
Right.
How they will distribute it, that can be worked out. But we know that the current document as it is presented is not a solution.
No.
It is not a solution. So
Right, that's why we're
definitely,
taking it.
the answer is to reject the document and then go ahead with the agreement. Approve the agreement that has been worked out and direct the police department to issue only 8 tickets, 2 to the people on Jackson Street and 2 to the residents on Park Street. Simple. Let's not complicate things more than we have already done.
Point of information.
Thank you, Councilor Maldonado. As a former city council president, you will understand that in order for us to enact any ordinance change, we will need a ordinance written and a public hearing held. We will be in violation of our own
Yes.
rules if we were to proceed that way.
Do I finally get to talk on it?
Point of
Then,
information,
Mr. President, let's revise the ordinance rather than reject it. Simple. Let's revise it.
Okay.
So that it would include the agreement that these parties have already entered into. Simple.
I will feel more inclined to revising rather than rejecting. And that's exactly
So
what I'm
why
saying.
didn't you say that in the first place?
I don't want to tell anyone how to
But you're
vote.
supposed to be directing. You're supposed to be directing.
And that's exactly what I'm doing, Councilor Alvarez Rodriguez. I am.
You're not. You confused everything more than you have to be. Charter objection. Ja.
Moving on. Councilors, we do have, Councilor
Yes, I think you have, do I have the document? It's
we
suspend the
have
rules.
a group of folks here that we're not able to make it to the last ordinance committee.
Can I make a motion to recess?
Motion has been made and properly second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry. They need to be.
Oh, God.
A motion to come out of recess has been made and it's been properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Councilors, before I move on the agenda, there's one document that I hope will be very quick. It's currently in the ordinance committee, where it was referred, but due to the cancellation of the last meeting, they were not able to address the subcommittee. It's document 30517, Unique Hopes and Dreams, request to use the Campanion Common for a walk for the homeless on October 7th, 2017, with a rain date of October 14th, 2017, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., and it was placed on the agenda by Cameron Perez. Can I please get a motion to suspend our rules and take...
Mr. President, point of order.
Point of order?
There is a motion on the floor that we need to act on before we take another document.
Which motion?
The motion that was made by...
A charter objection was made.
There's charter objection.
A charter
Who made
objection
the
was
charter
made.
objection?
I did.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
so can I please get a
Because
motion
you understand what
to
these guys
suspend
are
our,
doing.
Motion to suspend Rule 11.
and take document
And take document-
30517 out of committee? Has been made. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly second. Any
For what?
discussion?
It's to,
Seeing there's none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Document 30517, Unique Hopes and Dreams,
Oh,
request to
okay.
use the Campanion Common for a walk for homeless. Councilors, is there a motion to approve?
motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Do you have all the paperwork? Councilor LaPlante? Yes, all the, do you have it available with you?
It's not on the agenda.
To Ms. Perez, do you have the the application with you?
Excuse me?
Do you happen to have the application with you?
No, I do not.
Yeah, okay.
Who did you give it to? Sorry.
Yeah, but the clerk's office. I went to the clerk and then I went to,
Okay, our secretary's, it's getting the information. Let me
do we
see.
have copies actually? I might have copies. Can you give me 1 second to look for the copy?
Sure.
The documents are there.
Okay, so the documentation is,
Oh, ya lo tiene. Yeah.
we have the sign-off with all the signatures from the department heads, the police department, Yeah, there's a signature from the police department, and he says that they will be utilizing the stage, setup and chairs. They will have about 3 tables and 10 chairs. October 7th, 2017, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Sound will be broadcasted. Okay? Okay? Councilors, any further questions? Seeing there's none, all those in favor to approve, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, councilors, we have 2 documents that will, I believe, will be relatively quick. So, in an effort to get them out of here, can I please get document 30917 out of order?
So moved. Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. Any discussion? Seeing there's none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Document 30917, Mr. Vice President and Chair from the Budget and Finance Committee.
So the Budget and Finance Committee met and voted unanimously to send this document up to the full council with a favorable recommendation, and that is the Office of Planning and Development request for authorization to receive and approve a mini grant expenditures from the National Center for Healthy Housing for the sum of $5,000. Make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly
Discussion.
second. Discussion, Council Alvarez Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is the Office of Planning and Development here?
Yes.
Ms. Evelyn
Aye.
Urania.
What is it for? I'm sorry.
This is for the Budget and Finance Committee, came out of the Budget and Finance Committee, to receive and approve a $5,000
Yes.
grant.
Yes.
And I just wanted to ask, what is it about? What would you be doing?
So
It
this,
struck me because it's healthy housing.
Yes, this grant came from the National Center for Healthy Housing, and it's basically a mini grant to do lead poisoning awareness in the city of Lawrence. So we already administered the lead grant, which is $2.9 million in conjunction with Healthy Homes from the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Right.
And this is just a little piece that the National Center for Healthy Housing is giving now so that we can do more education and more awareness in the city and the communities surrounding us.
So it's more money that you can use for education, and then the rest of the money can go directly to eliminating the lead.
For abatement, correct.
And I have to tell you, I know that you guys have done a fantastic job.
I'm
You
sorry?
know, our city has done a great job. You guys have done a great job with lead removal.
Yes.
And we know how important that was, and how many thousands of children were affected by lead poisoning. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor
I
LaPlante?
want to say just a quick word and thank the previous speaker for making the ask for the explanation. Lead is one of those issues in our city that we kind of take it for granted. We pass these things every year as part of the CDBG budget, and it's just part of the fabric of the rhythm of the city council where we constantly just, it's part of it. But sometimes we got to just take a step back and understand that this is a serious issue in our city, and when our young people, when our children ingest lead, and the place where they're most likely to get the lead is in places in our houses and other structures. And what this grant is looking to do is to broadcast the programs that we have that address it. And if we can get a better handle on it, this is a slice of the apple or piece of the pie. This is just a part of it. But I think that we just need to, I think, sometimes articulate more about how impactful lead is in the development of our children as they get older. And it does affect their scholastic abilities, and it does affect their behaviors. And that if we can get more notice on this, and sometimes it gets we pass these monies and things. But I just want to take 10 seconds or more, a little bit, just to highlight the importance of this program. So thank you for applying for it, and I hope that you're successful in broadcasting what the city offers so that more people can benefit from it.
We hope so too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Good evening.
Thank you. Good night.
I also believe that document 33616, can I please get a motion to take it out of order?
So move.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Mr. Chair from the Housing Committee.
33616, we have the disposition of 39 Bennington Street. The Housing Committee met and voted to send it to the full council with no recommendation as a committee report. I would like to make that as a form of motion.
So a motion to accept as a committee report has been made and properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Is there a
So this item was presented to us at the Housing Committee. We discussed it, and we have a few questions that at that level we couldn't make an agreement upon, and today I'm presenting it to you. On this situation, it was no different than any other situation except for the fact that we have two different
RPF?
two
RFPs.
different proposals that was presented to the public, and one of them was rejected. The original one was rejected and not presented to the Housing Committee, and it was a question raised by one of the applicants, and eventually we discussed that. Then there was a second proposal that went out to bid, and there was 5 different new applicants, and one of them was the property was awarded to one person that live, I believe, in it's one of the borders. Essentially, what happened? It's up to you, Council, what you want to do, and I leave it here up to the floor.
Okay. So is there a motion on the floor to be able to engage in any type of discussion?
I'd like to make a motion if no one else cares to. It's not my district. I certainly would defer if there's a.
It is my district. Yes, second. For discussion, is that what you're gonna?
I was going to make a motion that we honor the request for Jose Nivar and Honoraria Fernandez as the applicants.
Okay, so a motion has been made and it's been properly seconded.
But I don't want to make that if you're not happy with that.
I'm not gonna support that motion.
Okay, then I
no.
want to withdraw my motion and relinquish the floor to the district councilor.
So, is Liza here?
We will need a motion to be able to engage in discussion.
Oh, okay.
So you
So the
can make
motion
it.
is, I don't have any motion at the moment. What do you
Okay.
suggest?
For lack of a motion, I'll throw that one out there and you can certainly
Okay, so there's a
alter it.
motion to approve the agreement. Is there a second for discussion purposes?
Second for discussion.
Second, Councilor Reyes.
Okay, Liza. I think you are the right person just to ask if we not agree to approve the applicants that you are referring to us, what is going to happen? Are they both going to be able to apply? You're going to reconsider, or is going to be the same?
So it was sent without a favorable, without a recommendation to the council. I'm hoping that you guys do take a vote, whether it's a yes or a no. You don't have to agree with the sale. We discussed in detail the process, how the process worked with request for proposal. You all received a letter from the city attorney's office that explained the process. I can read part of that letter if you would like. So the question with this situation is that we do a request for proposal, we receive bids, and then we analyze those proposals. And the problem was that the person who offered the most money complained about the process. We've had several meetings at the Housing Committee where we have talked about the process, how the process works, and not necessarily the highest bidder is going to receive the property. We follow Chapter 30B, and we do a request for proposal, not an information for bids. If we do an opening invitation for bids, we have to accept the highest bidder. When we do a request for proposal, we choose the applicant that is most advantageous for the city. In this situation, we take every application, we score them. We have comparative criteria. In your package, you will have the description of every applicant. It has the score, and in the scoring, it indicates that the applicant received the highest score. And based on that, we chose the applicant, and we come in front of you for that approval. I just hate to see that because one person is upset. There's always going to be, when we do a request for a proposal, there's going to be one happy applicant. The rest are not going to be happy with it because they're not getting the property. So you have all the information in front of you. There's the request for the sale disposition to Jose Nivar and Honore Fernandez in the amount of $35,000. Their proposal is to repair the property and to live in the property. In this application, we wanted to help not an investor, not a nonprofit, but an owner-occupant. We wanted to help that one, to open the bid for an owner-occupant, not an investor. And that's what we did with this application. The highest bidder, it's an investor, who we chose, based on that criteria, scored the highest.
So that's the second applicant? The
There were 6 applicants.
The second.
There were a total of 6 applicants. One of the application was withdrawn, so that leaves 5 applicants. 4 were rejected, and we selected 1. We come in front of you to either get an approval for that disposition or not. And if you don't approve the disposition, what would happen is we will have to start all over again, just re-advertise, resubmit the proposal, and just do the process over again.
Which is basically my question, like, if you have to start the process all over again.
Yes.
Basically, you're going to recommend the one that you have in front of you.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor President.
Okay, councilors, are there any further questions or comments? Seeing there's none, we do have a motion on the floor.
Can you repeat the motion?
I just want to,
Yeah.
may I have the floor for a second? I
Councilman
just want to, this is the district council, I just want to make sure she's all right with that, and if not, I'd like to know why. And just because I like to give the benefit of the doubt to the district council, I think we all want to,
Yes.
we kind of lean in that direction. You know your district better than I do. Obviously, the city's making a very compelling case as to why, but I do want, if you're not in favor of it, I'm curious as to why that is.
Thank
But if
you.
you are
Thank
in
you for
favor of
giving me, thank you for giving me that opportunity, but that is my reason why I want to support the second proposal, which is the investment, because I know that he is going to take a short time just to fix and you know, and put up the place. And also, I know that he's ready to start working right away. But like I said, you know, I'm just going to leave it up to everyone. And I'm just going to be no supporting the one that we have in front.
Okay,
Because if they do go back and put it out to bid, that individual may not bid for it again, or the bids may substantially change. There's no guarantee that they're going to come back, and that person, there's no guarantee that person is going to be selected even in the next round. All right, thank you.
Okay, Councilor Alvarez Rodriguez.
So, thank you, Council President. Ms. Enange, I'm sorry, my voice is
No problem.
gone now. Who was the other party? They said, I was reading the memo, and it said you had a tie. Who's the other party?
Let me, I'll pass these around if you don't mind.
Did Mark get a copy?
Thank you.
Let me see which one is that one.
Thanks, sir.
This one here. Francis Martinez.
So, my question would be, then my follow-up question. We know that this gentleman that you're recommending, we support. If he will be able to repair or renovate the property, that he has the funds to do so.
So that's part of the application. So there's, let me grab that. There are 6 different comparative criteria that we take into consideration. One of them is the site development, what's going to happen to the property. The other thing is the schedule. We take into consideration the expertise of the person, and the biggest thing is the financial capability. So they do include either a letter from a bank or something indicating that they have the financial means to do the project.
To do the renovation?
Yes.
Not just pay us $35,000?
No.
But to also do the renovation.
Yes.
I like the idea of the homeowner.
Yes, as you know, you've been in the Housing Committee. In the past, we've done a lot of investors like Kenny Dare, O'Brien, and things like that. So we wanted to do a little something different and try to get just a homeowner, owner-occupant. And it's not just picking that. We have that in the application. The application is very specific, highly advantageous, advantageous, not advantageous, and unacceptable. And in highly advantageous, we put in the application that we wanted an owner-occupant. And the applicant is willing to have that restriction on the deed that they will live in the property, or if they ever sell it, it will be sold to an owner-occupant applicant.
Okay, and some of these people, I hope they come back
Absolutely.
and try again. Now, you crossed out the other person, Julian Perez.
Yes, because he
Was
withdrew
that the
his.
tie?
No, so he withdrew his application after the bid was open. You have an option to withdraw your application, so that was withdrawn and it was not considered. So there was a tie between Bread and Roses Housing and the applicant chosen, Jose Nivar and Onadia Fernandez.
Yeah, I adore Bread and Roses. But basically, we're going to cut out the middle person by giving it directly to someone who wants to renovate and live in it.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor, is there any further councilors or comments? Councilor Ortiz, before the motion before us is to approve the sale to Mr. Jose Anivar and Honoria Fernandez. Okay?
Thank you.
Councilor Ortiz?
So, at Housing Committee, I had brought up the interest to create a stipulation that if we gave, if the city says that the reason that the bid was won by the abutter was because it's going to be owner-occupied, that we would make a strict stipulation that they would remain in the home for X amount of years, the same way we do with the first-time homeowner grant process.
Yes.
How has that been addressed?
So I have spoken to the applicant and asked if they were willing to have a restriction on their deed, whether 5 years, 10 years, and they have no problem with that. They want to fix the property, live in the property. If they ever have to sell the property, that clause will be on the deed that whoever they sell it to has to be an owner or occupant or have to come back to city council. So that's something that can be added if that's something that the city council would like. And they're agreeable to that.
So would that then, so in turn, well, I had suggested just for those owners. I know that Attorney Corrigan has suggested for if we are going to preserve the neighborhood and continue to make it owner-occupied, that we would add that stipulation that before that they were selling, before the owners were to sell, they would have to come back to the council, and at that time we can revisit and say, yes, that stipulation continues, or no, it's fine,
Yeah.
because it's already been 10 years.
Absolutely.
But for the interest of why, to preserve why the winning bid was the abutter, I wanted to be sure that the city's protecting its overall interest. And so if we could have that in writing, or if I need to make that as a form of a motion, at this level, just to be sure that we're preserving how we do business. And the process in which we just followed.
Yes. Okay.
Councilors, any further questions or comments?
We already did all that.
I'd like to amend my own motion to grant a 10-year requirement that that house must be owner-occupied.
Second?
There's an
That's many
amendment
second?
with the 10-year moratorium. He made the motion.
Okay.
So the motion, as presented by Councilor LaPlante and amended, is to approve the sale to Mr. Jose A. Nivar and Honoria Fernandez with a 10-year moratorium for homeowner occupancy.
Council President, through you.
Councilor Rodriguez.
I would like to ask the applicant to see if we agree upon that.
Does the applicant? Good evening, Mr. Nivar.
Nombre José Nivar.
Ellos quieren saber si tú estás de acuerdo con un una restricción para la casa que tiene que ser ocupada por el dueño por 10 años. Si tú estás de acuerdo con esta cláusula.
Bueno, mi familia y yo pensamos vivir, mientras vivamos en Lawrence, en esa propiedad. Esperamos.
My family and I would like to live in that property as long as we live in the city of Lawrence.
O sea, la propuesta de 10 años, yo pienso que es muy lejano, porque cualquier inconveniente que haya, me lo podrían bajar a 5 años.
So he
Councilors,
thinks
is there
that
a
the 10
motion to
year-
go past 10?
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. Any discussion? Seeing there's none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. You may continue.
So he was wondering if it could be 5 years instead of 10 years. He does expect to be there for as long as possible, but he thinks the 10-year may be a little lengthy for him. But would that clause be, if he sells it within 10 years, that the clause remains for the next person who purchased it? It's that, so, los 10 años no es necesariamente que tú tienes que vivir ahí, que si tú la vendes, tienes que vendérsela a alguien. No investidor, sino que va a vivir en la propiedad. So, I would...
So, hold on a second, let me clarify that for a second. So, you mean he gonna be living on the property, or
The
he
homeowner.
can sell it in a year, and then the previous, the next owner is gonna stay there for 9 years?
That's
What
right.
you meant?
That's-
Or-
Yeah, based on the advice that we got from the city attorney during the housing committee, that's exactly what I meant.
You cannot do that when you have the first-time home buyer, type of agreement with that,
But this isn't a first-time home buyer
no,
agreement.
I'm saying, but you were mentioning that if we have a similar agreement, that when you have the first-time home buyer.
Through you? Get out.
Councilor LaPlante has the
So
floor.
we do have Attorney Corrigan who made that comment, and maybe I misunderstood him. I will ask him, through you, Mr. President, would Attorney Corrigan just, again, either refresh this counselor's memory or correct this counselor as to what abilities the council has with respect to placing
Good
those
evening,
kinds of
councilors. So the city has the right to insert certainly a reasonable restriction on home owner occupancy in this case. Certainly the winning proposal specified that the intent of the proponent was to occupy the property. There's nothing preventing the city from inserting that as a deed restriction. So if Mr. Navarre and his wife decide to, let's say, sell the property in 6 months or a year, that restriction would continue regardless of the owner of the property.
Right.
So, and I think we talked about it at Housing Committee, certainly the great benefits of that type of restriction and having owner occupancy as a goal in the city. So there's nothing preventing the city from inserting that. You've heard from Mr. Navarre, Ms. St. Ange just talked to him. We can easily craft that language to comport with whatever the council instructs us in terms of the amount of time you want to restrict that period. So whether it's 5, 10 years, or perpetual, we could do whatever the city decides. It's our property.
Habitat, same thing. Same kind of thing.
Yes, Council
Yeah.
President.
I'm all done, I'll relinquish the
Okay.
floor.
Yeah, so.
Do you speak on this subject already, Councilor Rodriguez?
No, I still have the floor. I haven't given.
Okay,
given
Councilor
out.
Not letting go again.
That's right.
I'm asking question to the. So basically, so I'm sorry. So basically, what I'm trying to figure it out is, if the applicant decide to move in a year from now, if we sell the house to another applicant, to another person that is homeowner occupied, that's gonna be all right.
Fine.
So what about if we said that he gotta stay there for 5 years instead of,
That's not what we discussed at Housing Committee.
what do you think about that proposal? I mean, that might work?
I don't think that's, I mean, the spirit and the idea behind inserting the restriction is to, is the public purpose behind it. So to keep, to promote owner occupancy instead of, landlord-tenant relationships, for obvious reasons. This is a distressed property. We want someone who's going to own it, who's going to take pride in it, fix it up, and maintain it. So whether that's Mr. Navarro and his wife, or perhaps his children, who he may deed it to, or maybe someone else who may want to buy it after he fixes it up. We don't want to restrict Mr. Navarro, who may have to move for a job or something, or some other reason. So the idea is to maintain the owner occupancy for this particular property, not necessarily Mr. Navarro and his wife, but whoever that may be.
So yes, and my question to you is, if we do that, and then what's going to happen is the same thing as if any investor come over to the city and says, the person that I'm going to be selling it to is going to be a first-time home buyer. It's kind of the same idea, if we don't have any restriction.
No, you can't.
Because they can sell it in 6 months to a first-time home buyer because it's going to be living in the property, or somebody that's going to be living there. It's kind of the same idea. If they don't stay there for a few years, and then it's kind of like defeat the purpose of giving them a highly advantage on criteria number 1, which he gets 15 points, and everybody else is get 5 and 10, because he's going to be moving there. But I mean, there is no restriction, because the restriction we're putting in is kind of like ambiguous. It's like, okay, you have to stay. Somebody that owns the property have to stay there for 10 years. But not necessarily the person that we are giving selling the property to.
Yep, okay.
So you see my point?
I do see your point. So, so I guess we have two different things that we're trying to accomplish here. One is to make sure this particular property stays owner-occupied for the reasons that we've discussed previously. The other is to make sure that Mr. Navarro and his wife aren't taking advantage of the city by proposing in their application that they're going to owner-occupy and then turning around and being able to sell as an investor. So, okay, so we can, in that particular case, I think we discussed this at Housing Committee, rather than try to restrict that by inserting some clause into the deed that says you have to stay here for a period of time. I don't think that's reasonable. What we could do is say that perhaps the city would have a right of first refusal. So if they, we could restrict them to it if they agree to it. I mean,
they agree to 5 years.
We could do that. Or we could have a right of first refusal that basically says if they want to sell it within a certain period of time, the city has the right to buy it back, and then we could transfer it to another owner-occupant.
So, Liza, are they willing to stay on that property for 5 years at least?
¿Tú quieres quedarte en la propiedad por lo menos 5 años?
Sí, sí.
Yes.
He agreed on 5 years that he's going to stay there.
So if we have the restriction that says that it has to be owner-occupant, whenever he gets financing, that's going to be part of that financing too. So I don't see a problem with having that restriction that it's owner-occupant for 5 years.
He can get another type of loan that doesn't have those restrictions. So I just wanted to have a compromise from him, even though he might get a loan that have the restriction, or he can get another finance that doesn't have it.
So tú no tienes problema con quedarte en la...
No tengo problema.
He expects to be there for 5 or more years.
Okay.
So,
I support that.
all right.
Great. Council President?
Council Alvarez Rodriguez.
As a point of clarity, it's been my experience that we often use deed restrictions.
I'm sorry?
Deed restrictions. Okay. So that's a tool that we have used to make sure that the property that we got up and running continues to be up and running. And if he sells after 5 years, and we're saying 10 years, the other person just has another 5 years to complete. But I love the idea that we have the restriction of owner occupied.
Yeah.
Because the properties then have the love and attention
Yeah, I
they
agree.
need.
I agree. Councilor Ortiz, you had a question earlier, or you all set? That's okay.
No, I don't, I think that, I understand where Council Rodriguez is going. I'm going in the same direction, and I think that, I'll yield the floor.
Okay, Councilor De Peña.
Yes, Mr. Jose. I receive a lot of complaint about the property because it's real dirty. People put garbage, inside. In this case, you buy the property when you're ready for start the job or repair.
Dile que inmediatamente me aprueben todos, yo busco el permiso general y comienzo a trabajar lo más rápido posible.
As soon as he closed, he will get the permit right away and start working immediately.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, see, there's no further questions, or
I
Councilor
want to
Leclerc?
amend my motion, so that, again, one more time. So we're going to have a deed restriction for 10 years. That means that, that there's going to be a home, whoever lives there is going to be the homeowner there. And one more restriction as well, based on the discussion that I'm hearing this evening, is that Mr. Navarro must be there for the first 5 years. So that would preempt any kind of flipping that we could have. And that's a reasonable amount of time, and Mr. Navarro says he's going to stay way beyond 5, so we're not asking for too much. So I'm amending my motion. 5 years, he's got to stay there. 10 years, he could sell it on year 6 if he wants, but someone else has to finish that up.
So, motion has been,
To the both bidders, are Navarro and Fernandez are both listed, so it attributes to both of them.
yep. So, motion has been made, is being amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations, Mr. Nivar.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations.
I really thought that was going to be faster, so I apologize. We have,
Yeah.
We're moving now.
councilors, we have
Oh, I'm taking all table
two
matters.
items that I think would,
More predictions, Council President?
I don't want to make a prediction. It all depends on the amount of questions that each of you has.
We got a parking issue on
Between the two of you, who would like to go first? Anne Marie, Teresa? Anne Marie?
That's awfully noble.
Okay, so we have document 31117. MSBA Oliver Partnership School, borrowing authorization, placed on the agenda by Mayor Dan Rivera, Mr. Chair and Vice President.
What number is that? It's my time to shine.
31117.
I'm going to need some help with the clerk on this particular motion, but I'll read the committee report. The Budget and Finance Committee voted and sent this document with a favorable recommendation, and this is the MSBA Oliver Partnership School borrowing authorization, and I will ask the clerk to read into the record the actual loan authorization.
The loan authorization, for the information of the councilors present and those listening, it's ordered that the city appropriate the amount of $4 million for the purposes of paying costs of the feasibility study of the Oliver Partnership School located at 183 Havel Street, Lawrence, Mass., including payment of costs incidental or related thereto and feasibility study and for which the city may be eligible for school construction grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA, said amount being expended at the direction of the Oliver's Partnership Elementary School Building Committee. That the city acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any feasibility study costs the city incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the city, provided further that any grant the city may receive from the MSBA for the feasible study shall be set forth in the feasibility study agreement that may be executed between the city and the MSBA. and that the amount of borrowing authorized by the city shall be reduced by the grant amount set forth in the feasibility study agreement that may be executed between the city and the MSBA.
Okay?
Is that it? You don't need to read the
That's
rest
it?
of it?
You want to get further?
I think we have to read the whole thing.
Okay. Further ordered, my skills are good,
You're very good.
that
reader.
any premium received by the city upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this order, less any premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this order according to General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. Further ordered that the treasurer is authorized to file an application with the appropriate officials of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to qualify under Chapter 44A of the General Laws, any and all bonds of the city authorized to be borrowed pursuant to this loan order and to be approved, and to provide such information and execute such documents as the officials of the Commonwealth may require in connection therewith.
So including all that is in the form of a motion.
Motion has been made.
This one.
Is there a second?
Second?
It's been properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Discussion?
The ayes have it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Why you got questions?
I said discussion.
Kind of a big deal.
Discuss.
This, let's reopen for discussion.
Yeah,
Councilor Ortiz?
I didn't, before I said discussion.
Honestly, I didn't hear.
You're just trying to get out of here.
You're usually the first person I look at.
I was like, discussion? So,
Councilor
we good?
discussion? Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, am I good? Okay. So, good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Can you, just for me, for clarification, I know that we've been doing a lot with our schools. This specific borrowing is for the Oliver, which is on Haverhill Street, correct? And
That is
what is it
correct.
for?
This particular borrowing will be to complete the eligibility period that we're in right now, and this will pay for the feasibility and the schematic design. So this will, the next phase of this project is the feasibility study under the MSBA. We have to be able to fund that ahead of time, similar to what we did before. So first, I came before you with the statement of interest. Then I came before you saying that we got approved into the eligibility phase. Now we're looking for the funding for the feasibility. What that will provide is it'll give us the money to hire a project manager and then go into an architect so that we can provide the MSBA with 3 ideas that how we're going to either reconstruct or rebuild the Oliver School. So this is a very critical stage in this process. It is probably going to take us 2 years to get through the feasibility and schematic design before construction begins. So that's what these funds will be used for. Does that answer you?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for just updating us and where.
Absolutely.
Where we're at in the process. I know that this has many layers. and
Yes.
It's important to know where we're at. I know that it's old hat to you, but every time I hear.
It's not old hat to me. It's a learning curve for all of us, and we're really working very hard to make sure that we understand in that, again, the prescriptive nature of the MSBA. We need to make sure that our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed, so I appreciate.
Yeah, I just want to
the
be sure.
question.
I understand that we also have a committee, correct?
Yes, we do.
That's working on this, okay.
That is correct. That was part of the eligibility phase as well. They came before you here to be appointed to that committee as well.
Okay.
And this phase ends in January 26th with the feasibility study agreement being developed between the MSBA and the city.
Okay, and is there a time period for the feasibility study? So you said it's going to take 2 years?
This phase
This
that
part.
we're in is the eligibility phase, and the eligibility phase is it's 270 days.
Okay,
And
so
it
that's what I remember.
ends in on January 26, 2018.
Okay.
Then, if we're lucky enough to be welcomed into the feasibility and schematic design, that process takes about 2 years. There's no timeline on that process, but you certainly don't want to rush that process because The more time that you spend in the feasibility and the schematic design, the better end product that you're going to have. So
So it's 2 years from January 26th.
I would say that that's about a good timeline for us to pit to.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Council Vice President LaPlante.
Mr. Onick, you have members of your team here the evening that help with this. Can you identify who they are? I know that some were here earlier. Just want to make sure that we give them proper credit.
Yes.
Who are they and who were they that were here earlier tonight?
So tonight in attendance, we're part of the building committee is the co-leader of the Oliver School, Nancy Salak. We also had in attendance Kristen Ando, who is also the co-leader of the Oliver School. She's not a voting member on our team, but she is an active member of the building committee and attends our meetings. Rich Dogus, who is on the team as terms of facilities and construction, and Christine Bafagna, who is here representing the interest of the Finance Committee. Also in attendance is Mark Ianello from the City Finance Department, representing Bond Council. While he is not a voting member, he is also a very integral part of our building committee, and we rely on his expertise when we come before you with the votes. And he vetted those through Bond Council. So he's in the audience as well if you have any questions about the actual language.
Thank you very much, Council President.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mrs. Ronick.
Okay, seeing there's no further questions or comments, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Next document is document 31217. Mr. Vice President and Chair of the Budget and Finance Committee.
Budget and Finance Committee met and with unanimous vote supported the document 31217, which is the bond authorization for MSBA, the accelerated repair projects.
Oh, no.
No. The roof at the North Common Education Complex for $4.5 million, the boiler at the Arlington School for $1.5 million, and the roof at the Arlington School for $2.3 million, and to make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. Any discussion?
Do you have?
We need to read
that.
that bond into
Councilor
the
I will
minutes
ask
as
the
well.
clerk as well. Do you have their clerk to read?
I have a copy of it here if you need it.
3.8, yep.
Thank you.
The motion to approve the bond order is that the city appropriate the amounts of $3,800,000 for the purpose of paying costs of a boiler and roof replacement of the Community Day Arlington School located at the Arlington Education Complex, 150 Arlington Street in Lawrence, Massachusetts, and $4,500,000 for the purpose of paying costs of roof replacement at the school for the exceptional studies located at North Common Educational Complex, 233 Havel Street, Lawrence, Massachusetts, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, which proposed repair projects would materially extend the useful life of the schools and preserve assets that otherwise are capable of supporting the required educational program, and for which the city has applied for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, the MSBA. Said amounts to be expended under the direction of the school committee. To meet these appropriations, the city treasurer, and with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amounts under General Law, Chapter 44, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The city acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and if the MSBA's Board of Directors votes to invite the city to collaborate with the MSBA on this proposal or the proposed repair project, any project cost the city incurs in excess of any grant that may be approved by and received by the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the city, provided that if invited to collaborate with the MSBA on the proposed repair projects, the amount of each borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount for the respective project set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the city and the MSBA. It is further ordered that any premium received by the city upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this order, less any premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this order in accordance with General Law, Chapter 40, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed, or to pay such costs by a like amount. Further ordered that the treasurer is authorized to file an application with the appropriate officials for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to qualify under Chapter 44A of the general laws, any and all bonds of the city authorized to be borrowed pursuant to this loan order, and to provide such information and execute such documents as such officials of the Commonwealth may require in connection therewith.
Okay.
And that's part of my motion.
Seeing there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the support.
Thank you.
Uh-oh.
I think we need a public hearing for these items.
Yes.
We've never done a bond authorization without a public hearing, so if we could just,
I don't know why they're escaping it. Both?
I move that we offer a public hearing
Motion has
on
been made.
document 311 and 31217.
Motion has been made
Second?
and properly second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Ms. Park, Director Park, thank you very much for waiting. Councilors, can I please get document 30717 off the table?
So moved.
Second?
Motion has been made and properly second. Document 30717 is the Office of Planning and Development, Green Communities Designation and Grant Program. We will be having a presentation tonight. I apologize about the time.
I know you were
honestly
saving the
didn't-
best for last.
We always do.
So we appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor to take it off the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Good evening, Director Parks.
Okay, just being respectful of the time, I'll just do a quick introduction. So, in your last meeting packet, I included a memo that talked about the Green Communities Program. It's a program from the state that allows us to tap into some additional grant funding to help with energy efficiency improvements in the city. I have here with me Neil Duffy, who is a regional coordinator for the program from the state, and he does have a presentation that that really covers the program very well. And then afterwards, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Part of the reason why I brought this to your attention earlier on is to let you know that there are some items that are coming before the council that will require your vote. One item which is for an amendment to the ordinance for solar siting that just came out of the planning board, the favorable recommendation, and is, I believe, with the ordinance committee. And secondarily, an item that is on the agenda for the first time tonight, which is the stretch code adoption, and that's something that Peter Blanchett will be coming before you as well. So without much further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Neil Duffy.
Okay. Good evening again, and we apologize about the delay.
thank you for having me. Thank you, Teresa, for the introduction. I appreciate your time tonight, and I'll try to be respectful of the hour and get through this quickly and provide you an overview of the Green Communities Program, and happy to answer questions. I've been working with Teresa, and she's been doing a great job since the spring and probably before that to move this initiative forward with other people in other departments, Department of Public Works, police, fire, the schools, and really bringing everyone on board. So it's been a pleasure to work with the folks in Lawrence on this. You can go next. So just a quick overview of what the Green Communities Division does. We consider ourselves the clean energy hub for all communities in Massachusetts, not just designated green communities. And you can just hit. So as such, we provide funding and technical assistance for renewable energy efficiency projects. Those can be purchasing like electric vehicles, street light conversion, and improvements to municipal and school buildings. These are some of the programs that we have. I'm going to talk about the designation and grant program. The Mass Energy Insight tool is an online energy tracking tool that's free to all cities and towns. Lawrence is currently uploading all of your utility information there, so it's a way to track your energy use in all your facilities. And that's the way you do your annual reporting for our program. Meta grants provide technical assistance. Currently, Lawrence has a Meta grant to apply for designation. That's going through MVPC, the Regional Planning Agency. There's an electric vehicle program as well as streetlight conversion program that's available to cities and towns. So the designation and grant program is almost 10 years old. We are now at 185 green communities in the state. About 65% of the population in Massachusetts lives in a green community. So I'm happy to see that possibly we can make that little corner of the state a little bit greener soon. We provide up to $20 million a year in grants and loans to qualifying communities, and those grants fund energy efficiency initiatives, renewable energy, and innovative projects within the city. So to date, we've awarded $81 million. That accounts for about $10 million in savings a year, and there are 270 grants completed to date. The projected savings for those projects on an annual basis is the equivalent of removing around 2,800 homes from the grid, or thinking of it in another way, about 5,900 cars off the road. That's in energy savings as well as carbon emissions reductions. So Lawrence would be, if designated as a green community, the way the formula works, it's a $125,000 grant, and then you, based on a population and per capita income formula, you receive an adder to that 125, and Lawrence would receive $580,000 as a designation grant, and that would be the fourth largest that we've had in the history of the program. And then on top of that, once the city spends down those designation grant funds, you are eligible for competitive grants that are awarded annually, and those are capped at $250,000. And again, those grants are for energy efficiency projects, mainly on city facilities in the schools. Just to show you a little bit about what your neighbors have been up to, this just gives you a little idea of some of the cities and towns that are surrounding you, who have been green communities either for a little while, or like North Andover was just designated, so that's their designation grant amount. But you can see like Lowell has been a green community for a number of years, so they're nearing $1 million that they've benefited from the program. These are the criteria that you need to fill to be designated. As Teresa mentioned, there'll be some items coming before you in the coming month that the City Council needs to approve. The city's made great progress on all of these criteria, and so a lot of it is just getting them across the finish line, but everything is looking very good for the city's application right now. And if you have any questions about any of these criteria, feel free to reach out to me or Teresa, and we can delve into them further. You can go ahead. And so the last thing I'll mention is just sort of less quantifiable benefits that I've seen in the program, both in this region and in the other regions, is I think what this can do for the city is it can increase your flexibility in planning, especially on the facilities level. It can allow your facilities people to sort of be a little bit more proactive rather than reactive, and do some things as far as improving the buildings in the city when they need to be improved. It allows for a more comprehensive understanding of how the city's functioning, and healthy buildings equals healthy people means that if you're doing these improvements to the buildings, you're having happier, healthier employees, happier, healthier students in your schools, and that is only a good thing. Your savings go towards the core services that the city is providing. There's increased regional collaboration, and finally, it can allow for more awareness of other programs and opportunities that we offer. And so I've seen that in other communities, and I'm sure that we would see it here in Lawrence as well. And with that, this is my contact information. I'm leaving some sheets with some information on the program, along with my business card here for you all to take, so feel free to reach out to me at any time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duffy. Ms. Parker, did you want to say something?
Yeah, no, I would just say that I would just conclude by saying that we're looking to apply for the designation this coming October. That's what the timeframe of the application process. And also just acknowledge the fact that this has really been a true team effort. There's been a number of different departments that have been involved in this process. Emery's here from the school department. They have been a key partner to us, as well as DPW. We've had also conversations with everyone from the fire department to the police department for all the different types of information that we've had to pull together. So it's, like I said, it's been quite a team effort, and one I think will allow us to make great headway in really just being a more energy efficient community.
Great. Thank you very much. Are there any questions, members of the council?
Well, do you?
Sure. Ms. Ortiz?
So, thank you so much for coming and making this presentation. Councilor Rodriguez and I happened to be at, I believe it's called an MMA meeting, which is Mass Municipal Association meeting. And this, I don't know if it was this specific project or program per se, was it this specific program, but possibly it was, that was presented there as one of the vendors and the things that we could do for recycling and to move our city to be more eco-responsible. And so I fully support this evening, and I fully support the project. And I believe in our conversations, that's where we were like, oh, we need to bring this back. Why aren't we doing this? And so I'm glad that you've taken the lead on this, and now we are doing it.
Yes, great, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions by members of the council? Hearing none, what's your desire now? Do we withdraw this at this point?
Yes, it was simply communications to inform the city council of what we were doing and notifying them of the things that would be coming before you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, motion to withdraw.
Motion's made.
Second.
And second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abby, thank you so much for staying late tonight and for briefing the council. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do appreciate it. Thank you. Is there anything off the table matters? Hearing none. I want to fill in the blanks until the president comes out. Energy. Huh? We have something else? Oh, old business?
170, 176, please.
Under old business, document 170, disposition of 175, 177 Newberry Street will be referred to the Housing Committee, and document number 17617, a review modification of sticker parking on Fairmont Street that's published, that's been by Mayor Rivera, Councilor Vasquez, and Councilor Rodriguez. Those are going to be going to the Ordinance Committee. On new business, International Energy Conservation Stretch Code, that's Ordinance Committee. Josephine Avenue, one-way, Ordinance Committee. Josephine Avenue, no parking on the side of the street, Councilor Ortiz. Ordinance Committee. Stop sign Howard and Platt Street, four-way stop sign, Councilor Ortiz. Ordinance. Stop sign Essex and Warren Street, safety mitigation, Councilor Rodriguez. Ordinance. Stop sign William Street intersecting Wellesley Street, Councilor Ortiz. Ordinance.
Where are we?
I just put the last one. Oh.
Document 319 is going down to the Ordinance Committee. Document 32017 is going down to the Ordinance Committee. Document 32117 is going down to the Ordinance Committee. Document 32217 is going down to the Ordinance Committee.
I'm sorry.
Document 32317 is going down to the Housing Committee. Document 32417 is going down to the Housing Committee. Document 32517 is going to Budget and Finance. Document 32617 is going to Budget and Finance. Document 32717 is going to the Personnel Committee. Document 32817 is going to Personnel Committee. Document 2917 is going to Personnel Committee. Councilors, please note that for documents 32717, 32817, and 32917, we have to take action within 30 days of submission. That means by, yeah, most likely in our next council meeting, full council, we should be able to take action if there's a personal meeting before that.
Mr. President, I suggest that we, on this matter, we look into the lame duck provision, which is a state law that prohibit any appointment 90 days from the end of the, so I suggest that we check that ahead of time before the Housing Committee discusses.
Sure. You mean personnel?
Personnel Committee. The Personnel
The
Committee.
Personnel
The
Committee.
Personnel Committee, I'm
Yes.
sorry, yes.
Okay. Are we within 90 days? Not yet.
I think the 90 days starts from the date backwards from the next swearing-in date, which would be, I believe, the 2nd of
January 2nd.
January, I think so. So backwards from there would be October 2nd, but if you want, I'll refer this to the city attorney for review.
Please.
As it stands statute.
Okay. So I'll still refer it to the Personnel Committee, so that way we keep the ball rolling. Okay. We have where documents 170 and 176 referred. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Mr. Chair from the Personnel Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will answer you in the form of a question to both you and the city clerk. If I were to schedule this as regularly scheduled next Monday night, it may cause inconvenience for councilors because there's some event going on the next day. Would it be possible if we advertised it properly, or however the open meeting law needs to work, if we held the meeting the night before the full council meeting that's held the 3rd?
Good question.
So if we dispense of those Monday night, you advertise it the week
If
before.
this helps any, I'm going to send this out with an email, and you're in the chain, and in fact, I'll keep all the councils in the chain of that email to the city attorney requesting an opinion be directed toward you as to whether or not the lame duck rule applies to these appointments. That might help you in your decision-making. If you wish to schedule the Personnel Committee, my suggestion is schedule the Personnel Committee in the usual course of business. And if you need to continue it from that date, then do it then.
So go ahead and schedule for next Monday.
My suggestion again is to schedule in the usual course of business. If it's next Monday, you can always cancel.
Nobody can make it.
So if I schedule for next Monday, it's going to be me. So we're not going to have
I
quorum.
understand. I mean, but if you don't have the information, you may find yourself conducting 2 meetings. If you need to cancel, it gives you an option, is all I'm saying. If you schedule it, at least we can meet the posting time frame for Monday, timely, which has to be done by tomorrow. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock, assuming your 7 o'clock start time, to get that 48 hours. I believe it may be Thursday, now that I'm thinking. Thursday. So just to kind of give you a look-see, you can, again, if you need to reschedule, you can.
Sure. So out of this, if you would all bear with me, just because I don't want to have, I don't want to mess with the 45-day thing, if indeed these are still valid, and in light of Election Day being on Tuesday after when we usually would meet.
There's an election Tuesday?
Possibly I could schedule it for the Wednesday, the day after Election Day, prior to Budget and Finance or after Budget and Finance?
Sorry, I entirely missed your point. Yeah, Tuesday is an election day, and these folks want to be campaigning.
Yes, Monday night,
That's
people are praying and doing what they do on the night before an election.
My apologies.
Chinese.
Modesto and Myra don't think this is funny. My apologies. All right, so let's do personnel, Mr. Chairman of Budget and Finance. Would you be willing to do your meeting at 6:30 or allow me to do mine at 6:30? And
I would certainly allow you to have your meeting at 6:30.
all right, so
On Wednesdays, personnel at 6:30, budget at 7? that what you're suggesting?
Based on the 3 agenda items, I would assume that
3 interviews.
the Commissioner of Water would probably take some time.
So it'll be right after, so
we can do
do
it
it at
after them.
7:30?
Can we potentially do Budget and Finance before, simply because there's only 2 items, which I think will be relatively quick?
The later the better for me on a Wednesday.
That work for you?
7:30 on Wednesday? 8?
No, the chairman of the Personnel Committee is trying to see if the Budget and Finance can meet at 6:30, I'm presuming. So we can certainly, I can't promise I'll be there, Jack, but we can schedule it, and we'll get there as soon as possible.
So then why don't we do personnel first? We'll just go and plan on Budget and Finance 7:30, 7:45, something like that.
Yeah.
That way it doesn't
Yeah.
jam you.
Sure. 7:30 for Budget and Finance? And we'll order it for then. If you're a
We'll
little
move
later,
as
you're a
quickly as
little
we
later.
can.
That's fine. What's that?
We'll move personnel as quickly as we can without slighting the 3 candidates.
We'll do Personnel 6:30? Budget and
Personnel
Finance?
6:30 on the 27th of September, subject to the ruling of the city attorney as to whether or not these appointments are even valid. If they're not, I will send an email saying that we're canceled.
Okay.
I'll send that out right away tomorrow.
Budget Finance, 7:30 on Wednesday. Or immediately after.
Mr. Chairman of Budget and Finance, thank you for working with me on that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
That's my final answer.
Madam Chair from the Jeopardy. Madam Chair from
The chairman of Personnel is very tired.
from the Ordinance Committee.
The 29.
The 29th? That's
Yeah.
a Friday.
No, that's, oh, wait. It is a Friday? Oh, no.
Well, that's
I don't
you-
think no one
you
wants
wanna
to
come
be
on
here on
Friday?
Friday. The 28th.
Not Friday, no.
28.
20.
That's this Thursday, isn't it?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I'll make sure that it's gonna be,
That's our
the
regular
28th is
meeting.
gonna be on Thursday,
It
yeah.
is our regular
I'll
meeting.
make sure. If
Yeah.
it's something change, that is, for some reason it's gonna be Friday, I'll let you know, but it's, from now, it's gonna be on Thursday, okay?
Mr. Vice Chair from the Housing Committee.
Oh, that's me again. Of course, I'm going to pick the 25th.
The 25th on Monday?
Monday?
Just want to see who's awake. Very good. We won't do it on the 25th. 26th, apparently people are working that night. 27th is already jam-packed. 28th has already been taken.
Oh, yeah,
So we are moving on.
Friday to the 29th.
We're moving on to the following week. Because
October,
we will have it on October the 2nd. Knowing full well that whatever is passed out of that meeting cannot be taken up on the, you know something? We're gonna go to the 9th. We're just gonna skip a week. October the 9th.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Work for everybody? Well,
Okay.
no, we can't do it the 9th. That's Columbus Day. Never mind. Somebody knows their days off, all right. We're gonna look at the 11th? The 11th,
Okay.
October the 11th.
Time? What time?
Housing,
Seven.
7.
Time?
7.
7?
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion has been made and properly second. All those in favor, please say aye. The ayes have it.
No.
Best of luck to everyone during this campaign cycle, and please be respectful to one another and enjoy the big celebration of democracy. Thank you.